Even do it one better.
I mean,
I'm showing your stream on my stream.
That's hilarious. I mean,
as your
realistically, this is the High Council after show, so it only makes sense that, you know, we are literally the epilogue to your show. We are ending as you're beginning. There's just this meta loop of streaming. So, and here's Lando, by the way. Lando was typing to my chat. Lando typed 2356 to the chat.
Well, I'm just gonna keep waving. So, folks, I'm gonna end the stream right now. Catch us in a couple of days back on Request Bullshitters.
Wave in an infinity loop.
And this is too weird.
Weird. He's streaming and I'm streaming. It's strange.
And then I could turn my camera on too. Yep. Stream over here at the same time. So
then we can get like an infinity loop of streaming.
It's like that R. Kelly video.
No. Formerly Rodline, I'm just going to highlight this statement and read it out loud exactly as it's read.
So folks, we're going to go to Jesse's stream right now.
Because it's happening.
It's happening right now. So folks, join us over there. Yes. We'll be back next week with more. So always be excellent to each other, folks.
Lando's being excellent to me right now. He hasn't realized he's on a live stream yet. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here. He hates being on camera. He knows Jeff's is still going.
All right, guys, I'm going to go over to Jesse's Stream Comics. Thank you so for joining us. Appreciate everything. I got to go, guys.
I know, of course, you are formerly Rodline. I'm just literally like, there's a typo going on here. So literally what you typed was, if you don't love Ahsoka, the you.
But you.
And I don't know what that was intended to mean, but I feel like this statement stands as it is. I feel like you actually accidentally did a better job than you ever intended at sounding like a pig-headed Star Wars fan. So, here you go. No problem. Just make sure you bring it back because I might need to use it in a little bit. Hi, Lando. Lando is life. I agree. Movie Productions, AK. Movie Block Productions, AK. Lando, for those of you who are newer to the channel, may know that Lando has been one of the least in the spotlight of all the cats lately, outside of his bladder issues that we were discussing earlier. But in general, he has not been the one hanging out on camera as much lately. But if you are an old school fan of the channel, you've known that Lando has liked to do this for years. So for those long haulers out there, Lando is returning to his kitteny self after being ruined by surgery at one point and feeling less like himself for a while, and then deciding that the kittens were in imposition rather than friends or family. He's finally accepted them. He wants to eat with them now. They have a blast. He's being youthful again. It's great. Sweet Pea, I'll do you one better. Not only is Lando okay, but Pancake went to the vet today, got another checkup. Last week he got his ear flushed and some antibiotics in it. This week he just got it looked at. Everything's healing and progressing normally. He has been out of the cone now, still fully vet approved out of the cone. He's just on one medicine now. So Lando's back to normal. Pancake's on his way there. Again, still a waiting game on whether or not it ever grows back. But the great, incredible news is that this operation all went well, and he's healing totally normally from that. So, yeah. Sweepy, I did see earlier, though, sounds like you had some terrible drama.
I don't know what happened.
A car accident, it sounded like. I was hearing something.
Okay, Sweepy?
Sounds like there was a very terrible surgery involved and pain. But, yeah, Sweepy is here with us, so that is...
Well, that's always good.
That is good.
Yeah,
applesauce.
Oh, if you saw Jane's SoundCloud, you would have said applesauce, bitch. And I would have been really happy with that.
Apparently, Sweet Pea cannot eat too much. But anyway, it occurs to me, Sweet Pea, I don't actually know if you are a guy or a girl. And that thumbnail is not actually helping me that much because of the stylization on it. So
I've always assumed it was a female because of the picture. I thought that's what I was saying.
I always assumed you were a girl because the profile picture looks like, with the colors and whatnot.
Remember, folks, if you ever get upset with us, your images are the size of my pinky.
Honestly, closer to my pinky.
Pinky
smaller.
nail. So I like even somebody like Fenrir who's been over on.
That's why sometimes if we highlight a message and you're like, why did you highlight that message? Sometimes we're just trying to see your thumbnail. I thought so. Okay, cool. I just
a listener I pay attention to.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like I've always assumed that just because I hear you talk and like see the thing and just you can kind of tell some of the way people talk and whatnot, and then also that. But at the same time, I always hesitate to assume because like by the metrics, apparently 94% of my listeners are dudes, and I've had a Macy and a Shannon who both turned out to be dudes. Speaking of Macy, actually, I forgot I was going to change it to a different shirt. I was going to change it to one of the ones he sent me. One of my favorite shirts of all time. He sent me the, actually, he sent me two of my favorite shirts of all time now. I'm allergic to stupidity, makes me break out in sarcasm. And he also sent me the one with the choose your ship. And it's the, I love that one. You might have been, it might have been last August. Yeah, that was that August. Anyway.
Also, don't lie. Your favorite t-shirt is I like big assholes and I cannot come.
That's true. I still got to fix the typo on that one so I can get it out to Zach Blackfire.
The Zach Blackfire?
The Zach Blackfire. Also, I am going to be making a courtesy of Roland, I think was his name, Gonzalez. I survived 2020 and all I got was this stupid t-shirt. So this fucking dude. It's like he's trying to one up himself, but how? He's the person. Wow, what a time to turn it over to that and just get immediately a slightly retarded sounding laugh. I'm gonna go over here.
Dude, that place where I bit my tongue earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, it hurts.
Yeah, I hate those. Ugh, those get me. So, yeah, so if we ever ask guys, it's literally just because, your name is ambiguous. Something's ambiguous. We just don't know.
Do you remember the ambiguously gay duo?
Yes.
That was a great.
That was Matt just brought that. I was talking, we were talking and whatnot. I was
SNL?
Yeah, because I was talking about how the everything in the 90s, was about guys being gay and whatnot. And he was like, yeah.
Do you remember their name?
I don't.
Gary and Ace. The ambiguously gay duo. God, that was so fun. I love them. Saturday TV Funhouse. They don't even do that anymore. Well, Robert Smigel left, so
it's too sad.
But yes, we're live. Witchfinder Jenna.
Yes, this is indeed. Very much live. Also, yeah, one in the chat for Sweet Pea, by the way. An F in the chat for her stomach.
Oh, Mega Jetty, or I think he's chasing Jeffrey Turd or whatever. I didn't want to give his real name, so I'm trying to always operate in that. But no, I know we wanted to do the Karate Kid for November, but we are definitely going to do it because I even brought you up, did I not?
Yeah, true story.
We were outside talking, and I think you had, since you're my Facebook friend, posted yourself in your Cobra Kai jacket. So I was like, all right, and that was cool, and we started talking about Cobra Kai, and then I brought up having the Karate Kid thing, and your name came up about having it. So I'm going to have it. Make sure you'll know about it too, because it's the Karate Kid. Everybody loves that movie, except Jesse, who hasn't seen it yet.
It's true. Thank you, Jeff, for telling everybody.
No, but it's because everyone's going to make sure you're on the stream with me to watch it because they're going to want to hear your take.
Am I watching it for the first time as a commentary?
Well, yeah, because you can just shit.
I know, yes. I don't always like to do first watches of commentary. It's just because
that actually used to be a thing we would tell people. Don't watch it with us for the first time.
Yeah, because it's like you want to be able to just watch it and see it first before everyone's, talking about it. And then it's not going to be a fun stream if I'm just watching and no one's saying anything. So I feel like I should try to watch it before the stream.
We set you up over here. Camera on your face, headphones in. You're watching it on that TV.
Okay.
We're over here watching it streaming simultaneously, but you have headphones so you can't hear us. Then you come over in the after. Tell it.
This sounds like so much fun. Baltimore guy says, I am deaf a dude. Once again, proving that he sends the best super chats. For those who don't know, Baltimore guy, yes.
I love that.
Is the progenitor of you guys. By the way, Baltimore guy, I don't know how often you are in here or not. Like, that is now a meme in the mindless mob. Like, people have since super chatted, you guys are fine, comma, in reference to your original super chat, which I still have the original screenshot of. So you're now a legend, dude. So yeah, for those of you guys who have referenced the you guys are fine, comma, and didn't know, there he fucking is right there. Yep. Moving back to AK knows. You are now a hero. Also, press the like button, guys, if you have not done so already. But what are we here for today? Lots of random things. Lots of things. We're here to talk words at each other. I did promise, if you guys were watching Jeff's show, that if you are a Doctor Who fan, I had something here that is a gift you can give a Who fan or yourself that you can never, ever, ever get anywhere else. Baltimore guy is excited. But before that, I also wanted to share, I told you Macy is the coolest that has cool shirts. Macy also sent me a birthday card. Rufus the sock puppet says, nothing. He's a sock puppet. Happy birthday from me, not the puppet. So for Macy. It's really nice. So anyway, Macy, I hope you get to watch this. I know you're probably asleep right now, but I hope you do get to watch this in the replay at some point and know that I really, really, really dug your card.
Hey, Movie Block Productions asked if we can talk about Oxygen. It says that shit is dope. So how are you a fan of the Oxygen channel? Is it dope to you?
Oh, we're talking about the channel. I was just gonna talk about like at the actual just Oxygen. Like
that's what he meant, but I was trolling him, making it more of an interactive experience. It's like, oh, what do you guys think of Oxygen? Trying to be like, talk about air. So I'm like, no, we're about that shitty fucking channel.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah,
I don't watch it. Anyway, for the
sex with Sue Johansson.
So for the Doctor Who fans out there, bam! What is this masterpiece right here? The Doctor Reads the Doctor by the Doctor, season 12. Alexander Leith's the parody of a once beloved TV show. So. The Doctor awakens to discover a universe which is at once all too familiar and yet completely unlike that which he was expecting. Join him as he argues with himself, his companions, and anyone else near enough to be drawn in, all the while attempting to save a shattered and disintegrating universe. If this seems to be parodying something familiar, which has itself recently fallen apart and lost its shine, it probably is. So, what the hell is this? This meta nonsense Doctor what? This is by Dr. Alexander Leiths, who has written in the past authorized Doctor Who short stories. Like he was one of those guys that legit authorized by the property. This is a real Doctor Who story. So that was something that he did. And then recently read those aloud on his channel after Dr. Coffee does. Oh yeah, yes, this guy, Dr. Alex. Recently he went back and read those stories aloud, found people were into them, had written some newer stories, read those aloud. Similarly to Jeff's comic, is able to, if he files this under parody, is able to then utilize these existing characters and tropes and whatnot to essentially create his own season 12. So for those of you who follow Doctor Who or not, season 12 is when the chick shows up and the writing, by all intents and purposes, takes a nosedive off a cliff. And for those of you who are not that excited by that, Dr. Alex decided to write his own season 12. That is, and he read that aloud, so that's why it's The Doctor Reads the Doctor by the Doctor.
And it's a hefty book, and it's really good quality too. Like when you self-published books are a crapshoot, It's a really good quality paperback book. It's really nice paper.
It's definitely nice.
You can see because he definitely went with a professional, high-end company. So
absolutely. And it shows.
Respect for Dr. Alex's work.
So it definitely shows. It's a beautiful piece. It's available on Amazon, very cheap in digital and not that much in paperback. And I'm actually going to go. I should have had this ready all along, but I will grab the link for you right now.
Orlando, it's all about meeting with you, isn't it?
But wait, I guess it's going to be under Doctor. There we are. Okay, beautiful. So, and it already promises arrives before Christmas right now. So, for the Who fans out there disappointed by this current season, if you want to give a gift to yourself. This is an excellent one. You can read it aloud, and then you can read along. And if you if you want to have it read to you, whatchamacallit. Of course, you should buy the volume because you're supporting an independent creator who is creating awesome, wonderful, and needed things in our community. But you don't have to pay any money to hear these because he has them he has them recorded on his channel with his wonderful British accent. But I highly recommend, if you can, to absolutely get and support this awesome, awesome dude, this awesome, awesome book, and then also go check out his awesome, awesome channel. So, yeah, boom. Wanted to put that out there because he's a really cool guy. He's been nothing but supportive of me. He recorded a video for me. He did the voiceover dub when I lost my voice a couple years ago. So really cool dude, very deserving.
Before we switch gears completely,
did you see this?
Oh, I did. But before we switch gears completely, can we share a couples?
Oh yeah. So it's been a day for Doctor Who in our house.
So we got a couples Saint Nick present. So yeah, we're gonna go down this rabbit hole. The best Doctor. I'm going to stand by that. People can fight me. That's fine. They can be wrong. But David Tennant, 10th Doctor. Best.
He is absolutely 100% the best. Anthony Scioli says, how did you like my Twitch raid? We probably should keep our chat window up for that so we could have experienced more of it.
Yes.
But otherwise, thank you for caring about our Twitch, Anthony Scioli.
And our Twitch, by the way, is only limited by the Xbox Series X.
This is true.
We have not cheaped out or cut corners. Actually, the opposite. And Twitch on that Xbox does not want to allow us to hook up any kind of external camera or external microphone. But the PlayStation 4, an old piece of technology, more advanced in that regard. So we do want to make this happen. We are going to make this happen. Just right now it's travel and stuff we have to take care of on top of learning it. Once we get it taken care of, it'll be better.
Yeah. But thank you, Anthony Scioli, for supporting us because you're awesome and we love you. Except your bald head is still scary, so I'm going to make it go away. But thank you. Bragg. Also, hey Rhino, I saw Raging Rhino popped up here.
I saw him in the council earlier. What up, brother?
And in terms of sharing things that are cool, whatchamacallit, there's actually somebody in the chat here who did a really cool picture for me. And this thing, I'm gonna get sentimental after I show you guys here for a second. I love this, by the way. If you guys do that, anybody else who draws and stuff and does, like, if you happen to have drawn something of me, I always love to see those things. I think those are so cool. It's completely flattering. It's so fun to see how people imagine you, and to see, yourself represented from other people's points of view. It's very, it's just fun. It's fascinating as a person. I don't know, experience these things. Why do you want to be terrible and not actually do anything, computer? You're the worst. Okay. No, I don't want this. Not what I wanted. Where's my... There. Why?
Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh, it's the thing. It's that, but that's not what I want. Where is my... What is happening? What happened to my Finder window? It doesn't have the sidebar that lets me get to the places that I want to get anymore. I'm confused. It just says iCloud Drive. It's favorites over here. I don't want my favorites. I want... Oh, here. Yes, I do want my favorites. You're just not showing them. Look, life is hard when you're not technologically savvy. I am not.
You work on the internet.
I know. I am a Luddite. I do not understand technology. Anyway, don't be scared, Dead Heart. This is nothing but awesome. And I think everyone's going to agree. So. Moo! I fucking love this. I think it's so cool too, because there's so many different versions now that I've seen that I've loved. I've loved every single one. I've loved every single one. I think I love, one of my favorite parts is the hair. Everybody really gets the hair right, in whatever version that they medium or design or style, the hair is there. I even had, if you guys know my Fifi shirt, this awesome guy Cody Sider does a lot of my graphic design, almost all of it. And I shot him. I was like, I'm thinking this that got me right in the Fifis with like a heart, with like a pierced heart, like a bleeding heart, or like that, the big eye emoji, maybe with a tear or something. And so he comes back with both of these things and a cutout of my hair sitting on top of the emoji. I'm like, well, that's the way to make it on brand, of course. So I fucking love that. And of course here, like the hair to me pops so much in this picture. It's like, and it's hard to like explain. It's like, this is a cartoon version of me, and this is exactly how I'd imagine my hair to look in my cartoon version. Like, you've got all the important pieces, the super short bit on the one side and the bigger piece flopping over the other side. I don't know, I guess I just really like it. Also, I was that kid who thought it was super cool to always have one eye covered when I was in high school. So it tickles me that it's like that. And I just really love this. Like, I would love, if there was a TV show of me, I would love, like, and this is what I looked like, I'd be happy with it. I really love it. Anyway, so thank you, Dead Heart. Thank you. So I wanted to share that with you guys, because I just think it's so much fun. There's other pieces. I usually, every time someone sends me one, that usually gets posted. So I'll put this on Twitter tomorrow, and I was gonna put it on Instagram earlier tonight, but then the time ran out, and I want to put it up at the time so people see it. So words. Fun fact for those who don't know about social media: time of day matters.
Yep, that's why I put my videos out at a certain time.
And but yeah, so the My Chemical Romance vibe, exactly, Sweet Pea. You've probably been here long enough to know how much I fucking love My Chemical Romance. So, but no, I fucking love it. What was that? Yeah, no, if you go through my Instagram, for those who don't know, Mindless Entertainment, if you go through my Instagram, I'm pretty sure every single one of every piece of fan art that someone has sent me of me or something has ended up on there. There's a Simpsons Mandalorian, which I love. There's a Jedi one. Oh, you were here when the Fifis were made. That was a fun. So you've definitely, Sweet Pea, been here through multiple probably versions of me singing Black Parade. Anyway, I feel like I've been talking a lot, like not letting you get a word in. So
I was gonna go to the bathroom, actually.
Oh, well, I guess I can just let you do that if that would. MCR makes you feel old. Really, shut up, Henry. I love you.
I love you too.
I'll miss you.
I'll be in the other room.
Come back soon.
Within reason.
Well, come back when you have completed your business.
Evacuation come.
Please do not come back before then. That'd be weird.
Do you know what that's from?
Oh, wait, what'd you say?
Evacuation complete. Evacuation come. Evacuation come. The guy keeps peeing the whole time.
I do. What is that? What is that? Fucking why can't I remember? I can see it. I can fucking see it in my head. Oh, duh. Okay, it's Austin Powers. It's when he comes out of that. Starfreak said it right as it popped up in the chat right as I said it. Too. Yeah, after the in a fucking Spire Sheridan. I love that fucking movie. As soon as he said it, I was like, oh, I can fucking picture this. I've seen this scene so many times. It's been so long. But I used to watch those movies all the goddamn time. Yep, nailed it. Good job, chat. We all got on the same train together. Hi, Lando. I don't know if you guys, you guys can't see this. Lando parked himself right the F here, by the way. Just being unnecessarily adorable. Also, did they sweeten this with honey? Warning, this product has not been pasteurized and therefore may contain harmful bacteria which can cause serious illness in children, the elderly, and persons with weakened immune systems. Oh no, my lemonade / iced tea has not been pasteurized. Whatever will I do? Wise Guys Entertainment, really well, actually. He just went to the vet again today. We've been going every week since the surgery, pretty much, to get a checkup. What does it contain? Water, lemon juice, cane syrup, tea. the ingredients of which are... Wait, what? It just says ingredients: water, lemon juice, cane syrup, in parentheses, cane sugar and water. That's what makes cane syrup. And then tea, ingredients: water, lemon juice, cane syrup, cane sugar, water, comma, tea. They just printed this twice. That's weird. Okay. Anyway, apparently, my iced tea lemonade is going to make me die. Does it contain happiness? It does, Dead Heart. You know, it fucking does, and that's the important part. Wise Entertainment. Yes. So Lando needs a little bow tie. He totally does. He's a very regal looking little motherfucker. I love this little boy so much. He's been in a lovey mood lately. So, yeah. So Pancake, let's see. Got off the surgery. Right into the vet. He's gotten more meds to combat the inflammation because he still has that little inner eyelid is flipped up a bit, and then he got an ear flush and a old school Lou, literally the same thing I'm drinking, 50/50 iced tea lemonade. So unless they've changed the recipe, old school Lou. But yep, I think maybe they technically can't brand it that. It's probably copyright, your trademark or whatever. But no, I'm a huge fan. I really come into that because I love lemonade, but I also don't drink a lot of sugary drinks, and I love iced tea. So it's kind of the perfect thing when you want like that nice, refreshing swig of lemonade, but you don't want as much sugar. No, the cats won't touch it. I just drink it for me. They don't like the sourness of the lemon. But yeah, so Pancake got his ear flushed last time and antibiotics put in. So the doctor just took a look at him this time, and the ear looks good, he said. The whatchamacallit, less gunk than last time. A little bit of the antibiotic paste still in there, which is good. It's supposed to sort of sit in there and slowly dissolve over time. So the fact that it's still in there is good because it means that there's not too much other gunk in there and that he's not, scratching or fucking around with it. And yeah, so Kitty's on the mend. But yeah, my tea is half sugar. Dude. But yeah, Long Island ICs do get you up. If you guys are ever in Columbus, which is in Ohio, don't go there right now because apparently everyone's dying of coronavirus in Columbus. But if you do, there's a bar called the Char Bar, and they do like $5 Long Island iced teas, but they're legit. They're not like it's just like a dive bar that has retardedly good and retardedly cheap Long Island iced teas for some reason. So the night before, one of the worst hangovers I've ever had, and one of the 3 times in my life that my body has lovingly ended up combining a hangover and food poisoning. This is the first time ever. And that started with a Long Island. Starts with my Hobag best friend. She's not a Hobag actually at all. So funny thing is, my friend, growing up, her name is Adrian. She was a year younger. She was actually like a year and a half younger than all the rest of us. She had a July birthday. And so at the end of the school year, after the end of the school year, she would turn a year younger than everyone else had turned during the school year, basically. She was already, that was too much. So she decided to lie about her birthday and say that it was in November of the year, the earlier year. So basically she would turn a year younger than all the rest of us, but at the same time that we were all turning the next year up, a little less young. So I spent our entire friendship believing this was her birthday, and we went to different high schools, and at some point, I guess, towards the end of high school and college and whatnot, she gave up the charade, but never fucking told me. Excuse me. The thing was, she never had birthday parties. Her parents were very strict, so I was always the friend. I was the friend who, exposed her to all sorts of things that she wasn't allowed to have.
Those are the wares.
And the best. And so this lying hoe bag fucking finally all of a sudden out of the blue, I am gonna be down in New York. It just so happens for a fencing tournament, I think, or just to visit a friend or something, whatever it was. Maybe it was just to visit a friend that time because it wasn't because it's July. I wouldn't have been fencing tournament at the time. And she tells me, I'm going to be in New York City the same weekend celebrating my 21st birthday. I'm like, your 21st birthday? Bitch, you were born in November. She was like, oh, that thing I never told you. That's what I call her. Lying hoe bag. Yeah. So I find out she's going to be there. My two friends that I'm there hanging out with are they're friends from college. Neither of them are 21 yet. So they say, no, you should go ahead anyway. Go with your friend. It's it's one of your really good friends. So I go to meet her and her boyfriend, and we've offered for Ginger's older sister to come with me because she is over 21. And she said, no, but her really, really good friend who was hanging out with says, I'll escort you. Turns out it's because he was wanted to hit on me, but that's not part of the story. We get to the restaurant, meet up with my friend, we get our Long Islands, and I jokingly say to her, I'll race you to the bottom, and her boyfriend jokingly goes, 3, 2, 1, go, and we jokingly race each other to the bottom, our Long Island iced teas in seconds. And that's the beginning of the night. The night is an excellent night featuring shots, $5 shots purchased by putting the $5 bill wherever on the waitress you'd like. The chugging contest that my friend would have won, except she didn't realize to officially be done, she had to actually put the thing back on the table, so she was a little slow coming down, and that's why she lost. So we got to watch her get paddled. And then we got these really delicious but highly suspect chicken tenders that was probably the reason I was puking my guts out for like 12 hours the next day. It was great. It's a good night. It's a great night, though. Very great night, I guess. How was your adventure?
It was more like a Big Top Pee-wee than a Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
That means nothing to me.
3 people in your audience understood that joke. It was for them.
Lucky you guys. Hi, Lando. These are really good. Ruby cacao cherries. They're delicious.
We gotta get in contact with Wise Guys Entertainment.
Yeah, I feel that. What is your I'll just go on my show. I'll just go follow you right now, dude. I'm assuming you're just
Z.
I don't know how this. Huh. I'm assuming this is you. Comic Artist Pro Elect Lord Wise Guys and Beat Bop Boop. Alright, well, now we're following each other.
Ooh, that's Steven Seagal.
He's a cool guy. Anyway. Yep, found you.
So, what's our topic for now?
Oh, our topic for right now is how Jane is a whore. So while you were in the bathroom, I had the camera on Lando, and I was patting him and showing him off. And now Jane is here, because Jane has to be wherever everyone is getting the love. Oh, are your ears still itchy? Jane has itchy ears, but that's because Jane gets congested.
Ew.
Can you shake ears? Drip on you?
Good, it's not.
Well, maybe snot or phlegm.
But it didn't get on my hand.
He is
washed them.
phlegmy. He gets colds. It's not his fault.
Have I ever gotten angry?
No. I just want you to remember it's not my fault, Papa.
Nothing ever is, Gene.
Of course not. I don't do bad things. You know I don't do bad things, Papa.
Bullshit. I watched you.
What did I do that was bad? Name
Stole
one.
your brother's food.
When?
Too many times to count.
That's probably true. He stole my pen, though.
Oh yeah, you did steal that pen.
What do you mean?
You little bastard.
I did not. I just took it. It was right there.
So I don't know if you've ever heard that word before, bostrich. It's like a family word. It's like how you can say bastard without saying bastard.
Bostrich.
Bostrich.
I like it.
It just stuck. My mom still uses it to this day.
Well, it's funny.
When you see her around Christmas, bring it up.
Okay.
She'll laugh. She'll go, oh. She'll assume I use it all the time.
Nah.
And like, you know.
Jane of my soul. Do you think we should sing this whole song? No. You don't want to sing this song of your soul?
No, not yet. We can close the show out then.
Jane of your soul.
Of your soul.
Everyone's saying Lando needs a cape.
No.
Lando does need a cape.
Lando needs a new home.
Stop
He
trying
needs
to
he needs a bigger house.
Oh.
I actually like Lando more than any other cat today.
He's been a good boy.
Who's in shit Pancake?
Pancake's been a you.
Yeah, he's been...
That's our name in the house. That's what we call them. He's
Wow.
a you.
Bite-sized snacks, literally.
Yeah, I think these got destroyed a little bit. They were in one of the bags in the kitchen. I think shit has been piled up on top of them for a long time. Oh, wait, this one's still intact.
Those are delicious. Like, just ruined. What? No. Aren't they good?
Oh my goodness.
Aren't they perfect for Christmas?
They are.
I think we should actually be on camera. Like,
it's like a little waver, but with like peppermint bark on it. Jane was on camera instead.
he still is.
I know.
It was like eavesdropping on a private conversation.
Yeah, I mean, like.
What should we talk about privately?
Our
sex life.
So, I mean, let's be real here. Like, first of all, let me just make sure. I know there was another super chat, and I don't know if I read it or not. I'm gonna go back and make sure.
Jane's connecting us.
Jane loves to make sure we are connected. I did not. I read it, and I did not read this one out loud for Matt G, who said, saw 10th Doctor's Regeneration episode in the theater. You are not the first person I've heard that from, and my reaction is the same. I am insanely jealous, because that, of any Doctor Who episode I could have seen in a theater, that would have been the one. That's just such a special episode. Ugh. It makes me sad.
When we come back from Ohio, I'll bring back my David Tennant figure.
Okay.
We'll have him standing by the Xbox as we watch the show. How's that?
Movie Log Productions, A-Game. This is Jane. Jane is a very chill kitty. And that is why he has the chillest voice. Jane prefers when Mom and Papa are connected. So he's lying on me right now, but he has his front paws on Jeff's lap. Because
I think Lando's the one that prefers when we're connected because he always follows us when we're connected.
that is true.
That's a euphemism, folks.
Also, not that your perfect YouTube power couple ever fights or argues about anything ever at all, but hypothetically, if we ever did, the cats always get very, very concerned, and they don't choose sides though. They come and want to comfort equally. It's sweet. I never knew cats could be like that too. I never knew like these, like when you're down, they come over. Have they done that to you? When you're in a mood, they come over to you, they purr. If you're upset, they always seem to know. You know, never heard of cats being this emotional, and like a whole family of them, you know, being this emotional. So, it's nice. See, that's the thing, Alfred's dog. As a dog person, as someone who's always thought dogs are superior to cats, in every way, my cats are not like that. They are not selfish cats. They are not ungrateful cats either. Well, Pancake can be a little ungrateful. Pancake's very ungrateful. Actually, Pancake is incredibly ungrateful.
It's the most apt word to describe his personality.
Ungrateful.
Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't appreciate anything you do.
More?
What's more. He's like a spoiled little. Because he's like a spoiled little toddler. He just wants more. Xenomorph Skull Hunter. That doctor was cool, but he wasn't Tom Baker cool. All right.
I'm glad he wasn't Tom Baker cool because I don't like afros and scars.
I know people are love on Tom Baker. He's cool, but I haven't seen nearly as much old Doctor Who as new.
When I was a kid, I did catch Tom Baker. I subsequently turned it off because Doctor Who looked like hokey bullshit. When I saw Christopher Eccleston, I was like, this is cool. It's kind of hard to sell a 70s British show to a kid in the 90s when you've seen Star Wars and other stuff every day.
That is very true.
So when they reinvented Doctor Who,
it was the perfect thing.
The perfect way to do it.
I mean, because in the beginning, it kept, the show's sensibilities, but was able to, update it.
Let me show something real quick. I bought my phone for a reason. Since they brought up Tom Baker, I wanted to share one of my old drawings I did of all the doctors. You've seen these, right?
Really
you
good.
Probably went through my Instagram at one point, didn't you?
Yeah, it's through.
Cool. But yeah, folks, I did all the doctor drawings.
That's a really good one.
You can see all the color and shite. And then my personal favorite, obviously, is David Tennant.
He is a beautiful man. Did you know someone's job on set was just to be his hair fluffer?
The only fluffer on set?
Mm-hmm.
You know what a real fluffer does, right?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be the best thing to be for Doctor.
Like
you could be David Tennant, and you just get a fluffer. It's like, what do you get? Oh, I get a trailer. I get a great contract. I get flown around the world. I get a fluffer. I get a chef.
Why do you get a fluffer? Oh, it's part of my contract. I always got to rock a semi-chub in every shot.
I'm the doctor. I can afford anything I want.
Canadian Spider-Man says, I just started watching BSG 2005 and the miniseries. Do either of you have a favorite season? I may order the Galactica model from Eagle Moss Opinions.
They're a good company. Like, I do trust that brand.
So I got through BSG, the miniseries, in the first episode, and I liked the show. I just never got super deep into it. I dated a guy for a while who showed me a lot of stuff about it. So I know a lot more about the show than most people who've never really seen it do.
Like me?
But I don't have a favorite season or anything. I probably, if I got into the show, would like one of the earlier ones over one of the later ones. I understand as it got later into it, it got a lot more soap opera-y. It got a lot more like it started out definitely dramatic elements and whatnot, but action and space and whatnot. And then as it continued on, it got more, it's just a drama that happens to be set in this future place. That's what I heard from fans, like people who liked the show felt that it got a little bit slower pace as it got on. But I've always thought maybe one of these days I'd go back through and give the whole show a shot. Is that what you were interested in?
If you showed it to me, I'll give it my 3-episode chance.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest. I've seen commercials and I know the general idea and stuff like that. Sci-fi TV shows in general are a harder sell because they're trying to set up so much and they're also trying to set up a season at once.
Mm-hmm.
Usually this type of sci-fi I like is very finite, like a Ray Bradbury story. A lot of them are short. Twilight Zone, very short. EC, very short. So like I like sci-fi, but not necessarily when they try to draw it out because that's when there's a lot of contrivances. I think sci-fi works best when you're trying to tell some kind of story. Yeah, you tell it and that's it.
I do think that's where Battlestar Galactica got it right in the beginning. Was doing this miniseries model the way it happened. The miniseries isn't. It's not the greatest example of what the show can be, but it's a good introduction and it's a digestible way to introduce the world so that when you get into season 1, you can really just dive into the universe and the episodes and the structure because the miniseries is kind of the thing designed to do all those things, right? It kind of that's the thing that's going to world build and set up all the nuances and the rules and the how do we work and whatnot. And so as the show goes on and builds, you have that foundation to work with. You don't have to feel like you have all these missing pieces coming into it, but then you also don't feel like you got this info dump without any justification or whatever. So I think they did it really nicely in that regard.
I'm willing to give the show a shot.
I'm the things I will say to it, for sure, it has great artistic design because, again, I told you exactly how much I watched of it, minus some other clips that the guy would have shown me here and there. And I still remember, what there's that chick in the red dress. I remember exactly what she looks like. Helper. There's the weird looking guy who's like the special guy. I remember exactly what he looks like.
Even the old guy, Edward James Olmos. I know from Miami Vice.
Oh no, I'm not the old guy.
No, I wasn't saying he was. I was just making another character.
Another character.
The older guy.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. So clearly they really got their design right or specific and right. In the sense that it does what a sci-fi design should do. It should stand out because it should look otherworldly, and you shouldn't have a frame of reference for what it looks like. I think a good sci, unless it's set in a recognizable era. To me, I think that's one of the things of good sci-fi visually is like if it shouldn't look like anything we've seen before.
I don't know if I agree with that because Star Wars looks very recognizable. There are pieces your brain fills in. Well, all the guns look real. They talk in units of measure. You understand. I think the setting is really familiar. Let me
put it this way: the pieces you add, the pieces you put in that aren't familiar, shouldn't be things we've seen before. Otherwise, you lose out on the point. Yes, it has to be grounded in a certain level of familiarity. Otherwise, you don't relate. But then the stuff you add into it, part of what makes Star Wars amazing is these incredible ships, these incredible aliens.
Well, I would argue when you go to the original trilogy, though, because of the limitations and because of what it inspired that evolved the thing when he did that whole Scorsese comparison. Remember how he invented a genre, then he comes back and finishes it? Star Wars comes out, there's limitations. A lot of the designs are based on animals that we recognize out of necessity, and even have the names like Walrus Man and this and that.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't know Walrus Man when you're watching it in the movies and whatnot.
No, but I meant they're just not about knowing the names. I mean, they even have things.
I think you're arguing with me over something semantic that's not actually the point I'm trying to make. So I'm happy to have this conversation. We're just taking it further and further away because this really has nothing to do with what I was trying to say about the thing. The point I'm making is it should be distinct from other things that have come before it. It shouldn't look like the Mandalorian episode we just watched that looks like it was just shot in the foothills of Lone Pine, California, or honestly just down the road in fucking San Gabriel Valley or something like that. It shouldn't look like that. It should look like you're on a different planet. If you're supposed to be on a different planet, it should look like you're on a different planet. If you're supposed to be in the Battlestar Galactica universe, it should look like that. I shouldn't tune in and wonder if I'm watching Battlestar Galactica or another different sci-fi show. When you're creating an alien world, it should have your mark on it. It shouldn't look like someone else's alien world, and it shouldn't not look alien. That was all I was trying to say. I feel like we got another super chat coming here during that time. Saruna House Roundhead, thank you for the super chat. Says if you're looking for a fun slasher horror / comedy to watch, you can check out the movie Freaky that you can rent on Amazon Prime. I enjoyed it. Have you heard of Freaky?
Nope.
I have not. But I will take a screenshot of that because I feel like a fun slasher horror / comedy is up our alley. Definitely something I can go for every hurt and again. Thank you for that one. But any hoozle. Fan of OGBSG. So that's one of the things. So I don't know too much about the further history of BSG. So that's something I don't really know the whole like or the culture and how fans like think about it, old versus new, and any of that stuff. But that's where I definitely don't know anything. What do you think, Jane? I think Jane is trying to tell you that he would like you to pat him some more. He's reaching for Jeff's hand. He's like, why? Why did you stop? But yeah, can't watch SeaWorld. Sci-fi. What do you think about SeaWorld? Do you have trouble ever with like SeaWorld ones, like super dated sci-fi movies?
Like from the 50s?
Yeah.
No. I don't like... Some of the sci-fi I don't like is the shit people really do like. Like, I don't like Dune. I'm tired of acting like I have to like it. I fucking hate that movie. I turned it off. It's shitty to me. I went back and I read the Marvel adaptation as soon as they dropped that trailer thinking, oh, I might have messed up. It was a couple years ago. I didn't like it. You were younger. I was in my 20s. I'm not that different. Like, I just don't fucking like Dune. But old sci-fi like Forbidden Planet and shit like that, that's endearing to me. Old Twilight Zone, that's endearing to me. But there's an era of sci-fi that's trying too hard that just doesn't work. And so I can go really old, I can go fairly modern, and I can even go like every era. But like the shit that I'm going to go really old that I can't get into is, God, I think it's just too, like, call it PBS sci-fi that doesn't have a sense of fun.
Yeah. I definitely struggle with sci-fi that doesn't play. Like, that's just dry and like... I think I like elements of it. I like the world building elements. I like the universe. I like the questions it asks and whatnot. I just the pace.
A lot of those old movies are so short.
Yeah, and so it's... I mean,
we're talking... Some of these are barely 60 minutes.
And then it's this slow paced thing that feels like a 3-hour adventure. It feels like a 3-hour journey. It takes 60 minutes and nothing happens.
Yeah, I mean, Lawrence of Arabia is a sprawling epic, but I've watched short movies that are like pulling teeth. And plus, I'm weird about sci-fi too, because I consider The Thing a sci-fi movie, not a horror movie. So, like, that's the type of science fiction I like. I don't like stodgy sci-fi. There's Star Wars is kinetic sci-fi. The Thing is kinetic sci-fi. Old Star Trek, the show, is very kinetic sci-fi. But maybe the reason I have had hesitation to watch a show like Battlestar Galactica or Stargate SG-1 or any of these bound to television science fiction properties is because they're bound to television by their budget. Doctor Who's kinetic. It goes from place to place. I don't want to watch the further adventures of a ship. I don't want to watch the ideas of whatever bound to whatever. Like, the Orville is like a harkening back to the old shit, so it doesn't feel like that. But that late 90s, early 2000s sci-fi show template just doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm. That, I mean, I know I feel the same, since I never got into any of those sci-fi shows from that era either. That said, I'm really curious what you think of when we go back and go into why am I blanking on it now? Babylon 5, because it is different
because it's older, and I look at it like a show like Farscape, where Farscape doesn't fit in that, because Farscape also fits in the Firefly category. I don't know how to describe it. I'm sure if I went back and picked specific shows, I could show you exactly what I dislike and have a theory and all that. But like those shows are so dependent on their characters that it's not the conceit of the story is whatever, but it's about the characters. A lot of sci-fi is about the conceit of the world, the politics, this and that. Even the fucking prequels does that.
Yeah.
And it's the characters that are interesting from the old ones. So it's like, that's the sci-fi I'm looking for. Good characters. The world is just inconsequential.
Yeah. I think the world can be good, but I think the thing is,
at times, like,
I think the world can be important, but you have to. I like a lot of times sci-fi, people creating sci-fi get stuck on the idea and they forget to put human beings in it. They put more ideas inside of bodies inside of their world.
That's why George Lucas got lucky. He made that movie when he did.
Exactly. It was the only time he could have made it. It was the one time in his life where the outside pressures were enough that it forced him to actually put humanity inside of his ideas and he had just, it was really, it was this perfect ping ponging, THX 1138. Well, that's too austere. That's too stark and inhuman and inaccessible. No one relates to that. No one likes it. No one wants to see that. Okay, fuck you guys. American Graffiti. This is my life and my childhood and real people. The only it's like, write what you know. Literally the only frame of reference George Lucas could find to write about real people were vignettes based entirely on his growing up hood. But he fucking figured it out there. He figured out everything he needed to figure out about people and working with human beings and getting a human heart into a film from the work he did in American Graffiti, which gave him just enough to then come into Star Wars, bring his crazy ideas and visuals, the likes of which we had never seen before in movies, paired with him realizing how to, the one time I think in his career, probably the one time in his career, he knew exactly how much to stand back. And I think part of that, again, you had that duality. I think if he didn't have all of the technology and the pretty shiny things to geek over and fuss over and worry about, then he's probably going to get overly involved in his actors and the performance and this and that. And we're going to start to see things we don't want to see. Instead, what he does is he goes in the casting room, and even he can't deny the chemistry between Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford, in spite of his vast efforts to not cast Harrison Ford in this role. And then
he played Bob Falfa. What a terrible name.
It is a terrible name. Which was such a stupid idea, like such a to me, like, shows you George Lucas, the way his mind works, and it gets stuck on something like that, where it's like, I want an unknown guy. I can't have you because I already worked with you. I already did this. This fucking nothing character in this movie. But no. I need somebody I don't know. I need an unknown. I haven't worked. Blah 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 blah. Like, oh god, the world's only gonna see you as this one fucking dude who had 5 minutes of screen time in this fucking movie. Really. Anyway, it's funny. Where was I? Feel free to jump in.
I don't remember. I just don't remember where you were. I mean, the point I'll make, somebody else was talking. You got a super chat though.
Oh yeah, I did see that. But George Lucas and so it was just the one time of his life where he had the right things and the right distractions to go, let me look at this, and yeah, everything's fine over here, to not go in and fuck up the things he had done well. Yes. So Canadian Spider-Man says, glad you said that, Jeff. I never understood Dune.
The thing I don't understand is the goddamn hype. The concept isn't hard. The theories in these things aren't difficult. You like it or you don't. And then, so I don't think there's anything wrong with disliking anything. You could hate Paul Rudd. I'd be like, why do you hate goodness?
Hate Paul Rudd? Exactly.
But my point is, you can have a differing opinion. I think it's a very fair thing to just lay out there. Plus, it's the internet. You kind of have to preface it, sadly.
So, we're gonna read yours. I just realized we skipped yours, but no.
Oh, I know this movie.
Okay, if you know the plot, don't spoil it. Obviously, Sherwin Vazrana says Vince Vaughn is great and freaky. I won't tell you any more about the movie because I want you to be surprised by the plot. Well, now I'm excited.
You know the plot because you've seen the trailer for this one.
Okay,
you're interested in this movie.
Okay, I'm excited.
We've watched this trailer probably 2 or 3 times and have talked about seeking out this film.
Okay, I'm very excited now. I am very, very excited. But back to your point, Canadian Spider-Man. I'm with you. It's one of those things. Dune is like the Raylo shit. Sorry to all you Dune fans out there who just got supremely offended. I'm not sorry. Fuck you. It's just one of those things, like certain other things in fandom you get, that people get very, very precious about Dune. And I don't know why. I could guess. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons why. Some of it too, I think, Dune was under attack years, and this is before the SJW movement and all this, before SJW were a fucking thing, back before you had this third wave feminism and whatnot. We're still, coasting off the dead ends of the second wave, or I don't fucking know. Anyway, point is, before identity politics, social justice, whatnot, and all this shit, Dune came under fire like when I was in high school, because of its blatantly anti-feminist themes. And I didn't catch them when I had read the book a few years before, but it's one of those ones where it's like, once somebody, it's not one of these ones where it's like someone's got to explain this to you and you go, oh, I can kind of see how that's no, literally the plot of the book is a group of all-powerful magical women who will never be as all-powerful and whatnot as they can be unless the one shows up to unite them all, which is a man, or to bring all the best power, the most power. Basically, someone's gonna freak out and be like, no, that's not how it goes. You're getting it all wrong. Clearly you don't understand. And if you actually understood, you'd understand that it's actually about female empowerment and not about this and blah, blah, blah. But literally the basic theme is that this group of like witch women essentially need this man who's going to be more powerful than all of them combined and shit to come and be their fearless leader. That's a pretty on the nose anti-feminist theme, it's whatever. I'm not saying you should cancel a book over this shit. I'm not saying you shouldn't write it or you can't write a book with themes like that or it's bad or wrong for having it, but it's there and it is what it is. Like I said, I didn't catch it when I was reading it. I don't care. I don't need this book to be canceled or any shit like that. I just think it's funny that when someone points out that, oh, hey, your book has some pretty rabid anti-feminist themes, instead of going, yeah, it kind of does. I guess Frank Herbert felt that way when he wrote this book. Oh, well, I don't buy into that stuff, but I think it's a really great book. But there's a lot of merit in other ways. Blah. That's fine. It's a totally valid argument. Not a valid argument. Well, please don't say anything bad about this book. I love, la, 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 I hate you. So,
What if somebody said, how modern of the lens were they analyzing the text and the context of what 1964 is to 19 whatever year they decided to make that analysis of the book?
I would argue that, having read the book and heard the argument, I would argue that it is fair. It is very strong.
The reason I ask is because nowadays people say like Indiana Jones is inconsequential to Raiders of the Lost Ark because of a thing the Big Bang Theory referenced. Like they made a good point and then everybody glommed onto it, or like with the Plinkett, everyone one person makes this point and then everybody acts like it's fact. Is this one of those
here's the thing points? Here's the thing though, where it's like you can go back and say James Bond is, anti-feminist because it's misogynist and whatnot. Okay, whatever, blah. It's a product of the time. It's rooted in the time. At the time that this was coming out, the sensibilities were different, and no one was being wildly offended by the treatment of women in these films. And also, like, the whole thing too that people like to fucking forget is like they make a joke of the fact that they're objectifying the women in the movie. And just, again, people weren't so fucking precious. They had to be like, oh, well, this joke harkens to the violence of women over the ages and blah, blah, blah. People just got into this shit.
People don't talk like that in the real world.
Because, yeah, people just get over that shit and whatnot.
A few people that fuck it up for everybody else.
This is like literally the central theme of Dune is for these powerful women to find the more powerful man, to be their ruler. And whatchamacallit. And so that's the whole thing is like, you could, the thing is, there is a counter argument to be made. You could say, maybe you didn't even think about that. Maybe it wasn't there. Maybe it was total action. I'd buy that. I don't think that's wrong. It's a good point. It is a fair point to make too, is, are we viewing the little skewed lens and whatnot? And those are all great points in conversations. At the end of the day, is there are just certain people you can't make these points to or have these conversations with, because the second you say something about the precious franchise, they want to cry and scream and tell you how you're a moron for not liking it.
But I do think it's equally fair, though, like when you question, like when something is critiqued, to understand like where it comes from, like the era that the critique comes from. Because like when a movie comes out, everybody makes a complaint about whatever, like say, everyone bitched about so-and-so's wig in 1975 for some movie. But then 40 years later, everyone says, well, they complain about the actor, blah, 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 something else that happened, like, post it. So the movie gets the stigma with it. Like, it has nothing to do with that. So, like, the stigma would come from how cultures change to talk about analyzing text. So it's basically how they're looking for stuff that might not be there.
Okay.
No, just asking.
I'm just, I thought you were just making a counterpoint.
No, I wasn't making a counterpoint. I was saying, do you think it's equally fair if somebody has that complaint to get up in arms and say, oh, you're sexist to ask that question? That's what I'm trying to get to the point of. Or I'm saying, like, I hate Dune, but if you're going to make the argument that it's anti-feminist because of that plot point, and people would get upset because you're critiquing Dune because it's precious to them, do you think it's equally unjustified for people to question that theory and to be called sexist.
You called sexist or questioning there? Well, I don't think there's a lot, because the whole thing is I mean, no, you shouldn't be called sexist if you question the theory. However, at the time this debate was happening, it wasn't a thing to just call someone sexist for questioning theories. So I'm sure if the debate were happening again now, and I'm sure it's happening in some circles, because I'm sure somebody is still crying. Somebody probably thinks they're the first person to originally cry anti-feminism about Dune and is crying about it on the internet right now as we speak. I'm sure somebody out there believes that. But at the time that this first happened, that wasn't really the conversation. That wasn't really part of the conversation. And then it became this whole thing to justify, well, if you look at the later books, it clearly demonstrates how women are powerful in this and that and the other, which to me is just, you know, it's one of those arguments where you've admitted you're wrong because he didn't write the later books. His son picked up the thread and wrote, you know, all the books that enrich the lore and all this stuff and here and that and the other. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you know, there's 100% a counter argument to be made, which is like, okay, you're just fishing for something. You're just looking, you know, this is maybe one of the early versions of someone looking for something that isn't there and whatnot. Okay. Once again, though, it's one of those things that, like, I think you can always, if you're the outside lens examining, say, the Phantom Menace versus the people who actually like The Last Jedi and whatnot, having not seen The Last Jedi, and you want to examine the arguments and sort of look at the back and forths and whatnot, the arguments, I think, usually tell you all you need to know about which side, deep down inside, knows they're wrong or not. The side that wants to say, no, this book is not about this because all of these other books that were written by not the same guy clearly justify that this guy did not write this book about this thing. You know, it kind of sounds a lot like, no. If you just read the supplementary materials, you'll totally understand everything in between. But that's just my take. So maybe I'm wrong. I did notice that we do have Dr. Alex here in the chat, which is very exciting. He must be awake now. Ooh, perfect. Great timing too, Dr. Alex. We were just talking about you earlier in the show because I got an amazing birthday present today in the mail, by the way. I got this. So I was showing this off. Oh yeah, I might have forgotten to mention. I was so excited telling you guys where you could all get your copies. Might have forgotten to mention that this actually was sent to me as my birthday present with a wonderful inscription from my very good friend, Dr. Alex. And because this must have been an earlier version, some now corrected errors that I get. I think this is exciting. I have like a hand correction note of the errors. Anyway, very, very exciting. But so we were posting the link to your channel in there earlier, Dr. Alex, in case people wanted to come and hear you read it yourself. And then we were posting the book in case people want to read it. No, that's not what I wanted to click on. I wanted to click on this. So if you guys wanted to get a copy of the paperback for yourselves or a Who fan, and it also sounds like Dr. Alex made a video that will be up your alley as well. How they could have made the Doctor female without pissing off most of the audience. Sounds exciting. Gonna put that on my list because that is, I love those kinds of thought exercises too. Is how to like redo. I mean, we had asked that question. How many times have you even asked the question? What would you have done with the sequels if they were yours to write? Mm-hmm. Lots of times.
I've been asked that way more times than I ever wanted to answer.
Right.
People would come to us at conventions with like their ideas. I'm like, cool. Keep telling me. I will never write my own version of this film. Because it wasn't even worth watching.
It was not. It is not worth watching. It is not worth fixing. And guys, if you are just joining, make sure you do press the like button. Yarhar. But yes, thank you so much, Dr. Alex. It is such a wonderful, wonderful gift to be had. I'm looking very much forward to reading it. Although that probably will not stop us from putting on your read aloud versions because your voice is delightful to listen to. Thank you, Isaacs Entertainment. Yes, I did turn 30 a week and a half ago now. November 28th was my official birthday. I am 30 now and old. Right, Lando? Right. Huzzah. Anyway. But yeah. That's my thoughts. Yeah. What's up, girl? Greetings from Barcelona and happy birthday. Thank you so much. We had a really great time on my birthday. We were up in Big Bear and just stayed a little and really didn't, do too much, not much to do. But just wanted to get away for the weekend. Had an awesome room with a tub with jets and stuff and spent the day just enjoying each other. I had fun. Did you have fun?
Mm-hmm.
You look sleepy.
I'm really cold.
Oh,
Feel my hands.
why didn't you say something?
When are my hands this cold?
I don't know. Why did you say anything?
Freezing
Lando's just
cold
sitting
over
up here taking up this blanket for no reason.
You have a coat of fur, Lando. Get out.
Oh. Sorry, buddy. He looks so comfortable. Come here. He's like, why would you? Because Papa needs to wear him.
Yeah. I don't want to die.
I want you to die either. Jesus.
It's like cold. You can feel my body.
Anything.
No, I want to be wrapped up. Sorry, I'm taking it off right
That's
now. I want to be
fine.
wrapped up.
I didn't know if you wanted my body heat or anything.
With the pants on, I don't
Oh,
feel
yeah,
any
you don't
body
get
heat.
any. I'm sorry. Jesus, why did you say something?
It's cold. It's Southern California. I expect to be warm all the time.
Your robe is like right there, isn't
I just wanted to.
it? Needed this. Bye, old school Lou. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you. Oh my god. Oh god. Here's a math joke for you. Black Dynamite. If Jesus died for our sines, who died for our cosine and tangent?
I went to a Catholic school and heard that joke.
I'm sure you did. Thank you, Black Dynamite.
That's a great movie, though, Black Dynamite.
I have never seen it.
I'm aware of that.
But I'm glad you woke up in time to see us too, Dr. Alex. I'm glad you were. I was so hoping. I was like, as the gift of whatchamacallit, Jeff's the High Council going long. Usually we'd be off of here by now. We've been doing 90 minutes and stuff. But we are still here, so we got to see you. I'm very glad because awesome gift. I barely had time to enjoy looking at it before Jeff was like, "Ooh, let me see." So we are definitely a household. Oh yes,
I would literally.
This is what I gave earlier today. So
I was like, "What's a good couple's gifts for a stocking stuffer?"
It was.
Oh, hey, Amazon's got a special today. This is perfect.
It was perfect.
I hate to say it's going to piss off a lot of people, but if I can only watch just this Doctor Who, that's enough for me. I don't need the rest. I don't care about Matt Smith.
I'm fine with
I don't care about Amy Pond. I don't care about David. Not David Tennant? He's the best one. Peter Capaldi.
Peter. Eccleston's good for me because he's a nice transition.
9 episodes or something?
It's like one season, yeah.
I knew it was one season, but I meant I don't know. It's 9 to 12 episodes.
It's not like a super long one, yeah.
Well, if you'd like, we can get the Christopher Eccleston collection. I was going to see how much it costs. I bet it's like
$4.
Well, if this one was $20 on sale, that one should be $4 on sale.
But honestly, I'm fine with that too. There are select Matt Smith episodes that I like for the what they are. I actually really like. This might be sacrilege for some people. I might like the Matt Smith 2-part Weeping Angels better than the first one, but that also might just be because that was how someone decided to introduce me to the new Doctor Who. They're like, oh, hey, let's watch this one. This one will be a good one. And
I'm glad I bought this one. I did it when it sold out.
Wow,
it was a 1-day special.
Jesus,
14-disc version. That's what we got.
Dang, son. Why is the DVD version so much more expensive?
Probably because it's multiple discs.
That's really like a huge fucking thing.
Yeah, it's way neater looking, but I would not pay for DVDs.
Why would you pay? Why would you spend? It just seems so I get that it's a cool box set and all that. That just seems like a retarded amount of money to spend on.
Because this is the after price. I bet you this was only $100 when it came out. I mean, this is how old is this set? Either way, 26. 38 hours of Doctor Who plus hours of extra footage. How long was this one?
38. I definitely saw something that said 38
Oh, over 38 hours.
Yeah. There you go.
Such an odd thing. Anyway, 2011 is when that DVD set's from.
Sweet Pea's dunking on our gentleman.
Oh shit, Eccleston.
She says
it's more expensive.
Is it really?
$41.99 for the season 1.
Wow. Right before Christmas now. Sweet Pea says there's a bunch of grandpas in this chat. I mean, they're dating themselves. They're all in there being like, I feel old now. Wow, I feel so old.
You said you prefer some Matt Smith episodes, right? Because I had a realization. I have Matt Smith seasons on Blu-ray at home. I got them real cheap, so we're going to have more Doctor Who. I just didn't realize I'll bring it out.
I just said there's just, which one is it? The 2-part Weeping Angel one in the Matt Smith era, I thought was a really, really good episode.
I wish we would have just got this instead, but I didn't want to spend the money.
That is pretty fucking dope.
I mean, that's perfect Doctor Who for me.
Yep. Plenty. More than enough. But yeah. 10 was my boy. I did love the 10 years.
So, folks in the chat, tell us some of your favorite Doctor Who episodes.
Yeah.
Let's get some engagement going. I know it's been a sci-fi heavy show, and that's completely cool, but we're not getting the...
Do you have an all-time favorite episode?
Yeah, the Absorbaloff one.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course.
It is weird because the Doctor's barely in it. I like the story of Elton, but I like the story of how the creature's scary. Most Doctor Who creatures suck, and I know people go, oh, it's so offensive. A lot of them are the creation of early BBC.
Yeah.
And I get why the Dalek has a fucking plunger and this and that. But the Absorbaloff was always kind of creepy because he would suck you in and make you part of his body. And, like, you'd still be aware. And, like, remember they'd be screaming help and shit?
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's worse because dying sucks. But, like, never dying, constantly being trapped in this body, the agony and shit, that's, like, scarier than Exterminate.
Exterminate.
Or the fucking Cybermen.
Exterminate.
They look like Iron Man to me.
I gotta say that they do a really nice job with the Daleks early on. That's something that I wish the show had done better with. That I think they really crapped out on.
We're watching an episode of Doctor Who after this.
And this is something I talk about this in shows too. Like, remember how, like, in Supernatural, the very first episode with a demon in it, it's like the entire fucking episode. It's the one on the airplane.
Yeah,
it's the entire fucking episode.
It's a great episode.
It is, but it's the whole damn episode to kill one demon, and it nearly gets them, right? And then it's like, well, now Sam's, snapping his fingers and smoking out the assholes. I feel like Doctor Who did that with the Daleks, and I feel like it was a bigger travesty in the with that. Like with Supernatural, it was kind of a necessary evolution for the way the show was going to go. With Doctor Who, I really feel like they lost something when they, like, as scary as it was to unleash an entire swarm of Daleks. Once you did that. Once you pulled that and did that, because that was wasn't that the end of Rose? Was the Dalek swarm or was that the
Cybermen was Rose?
Cybermen was Rose's last episode.
Because she screams that I love you or whatever, and he tries to respond, and then she gets sucked through the void.
Yeah, it was the Cybermen, because that's
Sontarans or whatever these guys are. They always look like potato headed people to me.
Those guys, but to me, yeah, over what you have is you have the very first time the Doctor ever meets a Dalek, he fucking flips. It's this intense, like, holy shit moment. It's a great goddamn episode. And then I feel like the Daleks have just, like, the whole thing is, yeah, they're ridiculous. They look ridiculous. They sound ridiculous. But they were still scary because they were treated with such fear. And they were shown to be this unstoppable thing. And as soon as you start introducing more of them and then just beating them and more of them and beating them, they eventually just stop being scary. Like, oh, the Daleks should, it's like in Firefly. Firefly never had a chance to ruin the Reavers because anytime a Reavers showed up or were mentioned, it's like, holy fuck.
It's like all the classics. You should never show the monster.
Exactly.
It's your brain filling in the gaps is a lot scarier.
Exactly. Because the whole thing is exactly that. The whole thing is we learn about these Dalek wars and all that. Now they're part of why Gallifrey is wiped out and all this shit. And exactly that. The whole thing is they should tease us with the threat of a giant swarm of Daleks because they've set up how imposing and terrifying just a few should be. But once you pay it off, the reality of a swarm of Daleks that we're going to see our heroes eventually defeat is never going to be scary as scary as the reality of imagining the foe in this one episode multiplied by 10,000. And
that's just such a weird show because I talk about, 1 foot in the past. That has like 1.5 feet still in the past. It's very self-referential in a good way. And I think they tried to modernize it and westernize it when Matt Smith came on. And it worked for a little bit, but then I think they went too far when they kept trying to modernize it and do certain things, especially when you get to the female doctor and this and that and trying to become what it was never meant to be.
Exactly. I think you're right. I think it went the way of a lot of it's exactly where the other properties have gone, which is
Lando's upset.
There was no plastic. I wanted to chew on it and die.
I'm sorry.
It's gone the way other properties have gone, where where it forgets, it gets caught up in what it's supposed to be now, and it forgets that it comes from something and has a legacy to uphold. And if it works to uphold that legacy, it's going to enjoy the longevity and the timelessness that it did before. But when you stop protecting that legacy and you forget what it is, it's a lot of hubris from filmmakers today and producers and just the people in the industry today. I mean, it's the Kathleen Kennedy syndrome. Oh, I was there during all of this. I was there when these movies were getting made and getting done. I know what's up. I know what to do. And this hubris that just because you were there, just because you fucking brought Steven Spielberg his fucking coffee, you somehow know how to be Steven Spielberg.
You go to film school.
And that's what these people are. Ryan Johnson taking up a Star Wars movie and thinking he's going to be George Lucas on his first fucking try, And the whole realization is like, you're not that fucking special. Doctor Who is the longest running... Isn't it the longest running sci-fi show of forever? Star Trek is the longest, there's something with Star Trek or whatever. The one has made more episodes than the other one.
Doctor's older.
I know, it's like Doctor's the longest. I think Star Trek gets to claim something about continuity because of something.
I don't think that's fair, though, because those are different shows.
Those
shows, each Star Trek series...
It might just be volume. It might just be that Star Trek's put up more number of episodes.
Well, yeah, we know that much.
I know each one of them has a legitimate mantle in the sci-fi TV show universe.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of which one. It's like Star. I know Doctor Who's the older one, but I think Star Trek might have the most number of episodes or something like that.
Well, no, the reason I was saying though is because Star Trek.
Yeah.
It started out as just the show.
Yeah.
So you can't say the Next Generation because to me, if you put Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and all these, it's like putting Torchwood with Doctor Who.
Yeah.
You don't really lump those episodes because they're separate shows. I get that they all come from the same universe.
You can't give them.
But
no.
To me, it's like saying a franchise versus just a television series. I don't think it's apples to oranges. Is what we're comparing.
I agree.
I don't think Doctor Who should get that mantle. Oldest sci-fi show still on the air.
It does indeed. I think it probably stole that back from Star Trek when it came back in 05.
But the sad part is for the Trek fans,
mm-hmm.
Doctor Who came back and then had this worldwide explosion.
Mm-hmm.
Star Trek came back.
I mean, you can say it really spawned that with the first movie, but the first movie really was Star Trek's Force Awakens, where it brought in a certain measure of interest and goodwill and whatnot, and that they quickly erased. So much for everything they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Stone Cold Jeremy says, cheers, Jesse and Jeff. Happy belated birthday, Jesse. Thank you, Stone Cold Jeremy.
The fact that you did it, Stone Cold Jeremy, I just gotta give you a kiss on air. That makes me proud. She picks that shit up for me, folks.
It's true. Give you a Stone Cold Stunner later.
Stone Cold Stunner.
Still don't know what that move looks like. So I mean, not off the top of my head. I know I've seen it and whatnot, but
it's the way Stone Cold does it is he kicks you in your guts. He kind of bend down and someone ready to take their arm around your neck and jump down on the ground.
Okay, gotcha. That's a good one. I like that one.
Probably the most hit finishing move in all of wrestling history. Because they would have 20 guys attacking him at once. He just stunner. And the crowd would cheer because he hit the same move over and over.
That was some of the really fun. They pulled that a lot in the NXT show we watched with the repetition of the move, kind of hammering it on over and over and over. That's the gimmick that they used a lot of, and it always worked. that I haven't really seen the WWE use this year.
Well, imagine it like this though. Let's
Mhm.
say I'm in the ring with Stone Cold's in the ring with 2 guys.
Yeah.
Gives him the stunner. Then 12 guys will come out, but at a pace where he can hit one and then roll out, and then another one comes in. It's constantly, and it was a thing.
Oh yeah.
It's like, let's just line them up for the slaughter.
That's I think that stuff's so fun. Like one of my favorite parts of the whole NXT show was when they the whatchamacallits, that one team, the guys at the end.
Not Pat McAfee's team.
Not Pat McAfee's team. Undisputed Era. When they were just railroading all those guys, just like that line of them just coming in and doing that.
What a great fucking show.
And they did that one. They had the one guy did probably 3 or 4 different times the bounce back, or was it one of the chicks actually? I think in the first one doing the back and forth clotheslining her over and over. It's just fun, so fun.
It's so awesome, folks.
It really
to date
was.
Somebody who actually likes what you're into and gets excited, and then puts out theories and shit, and turns out she just understands wrestling quicker than she realizes, and you sit there impressed and you go, this will be a fun life.
And what you get your tail in my face?
Oh, Raging Rhino. The Rock is my personal favorite wrestler, and I prefer the Rock bottom to people's elbow. But how many times did the Rock get his foot held by Stephanie McMahon or other people that ruined the people's elbow? I'm just saying, Stone Cold Stunner was hit way more times effectively. I prefer the people's elbow and the Rock bottom.
So Dr. Alex contends that Doctor Who probably has more episodes too, because it has been running fairly. Actually, it has not had that much of a gap. We got a couple super stickers from Jason.
Oh, look that number up. Not the question.
No, I want to find out.
I'm just curious the number because I think that's an interesting.
We got a couple of unicorns in a row here from Jason C. Hopefully, he might have said it twice. If not, that's cool too. But we love unicorns, so we're happy to get 2. There are 2 of us, so a couple of unicorns just makes sense. But yeah, no, I wonder what that is. Let's see.
Okay, so there are 861 episodes of Doctor Who. Star Trek's in the thousands, I think.
So apparently Sweet Pea is taking out all of Gen X in the chat right now. We got an OK Boomer getting thrown around here. But to be fair, we did a Heroinberg claiming that Gen X is the last generation to make anything creative for themselves, and millennials, all we do is just recycle and reuse other people's ideas. We have to say to that, Jeff.
Oh wait, sorry. Can you say that again?
Do millennials ever come up with anything original? Or do we only recycle and reuse? Because you and I are millennials, so
I definitely created original shit.
Likewise. So, well, we do. Unfortunately, Heroinberg, as much as I like you, we do have to take the millennial side in this debate, being millennials ourselves.
Okay, so as of 2016, there were 726 episodes of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
So even alone, Doctor Who beats it back then. Now, Doctor Who, 861.
Dang.
Now, over the course of the last 4 years, there have been maybe 20 or 30 more episodes of Star Trek they created across all the shows. So Doctor Who still wins.
Oh, of course. Sweet Pea says they mad about the grandpa comment.
Oh, I don't even know.
She made a comment calling grandpa a bunch of grandpas in the chat earlier. Now that's what they're all coming after her for.
Well, Xenoworks just has good taste. Hulk Hogan was the shit.
I believe you. I really do. I just think it's funny that we're having well, I don't know. I mean, really, I think the ladies doth protest too much, Sweet Pea. So
doth mother know you weareth her drapes?
If they're getting that offended by the grandpa comment, I think they're showing their age there.
Do you remember Uncle Grandpa? That was a fucking weird show on Cartoon Network. It's not even old. It might still be on. But it's a show that even I'll say, how are kids watching this show? Because it's so weird.
It's weirder than Daddy and the Big Boy.
Daddy and the Big Boy is adult rated.
Well, yeah.
You say fucking all that stuff. But no, Daddy and the Big Boy. I can't believe we watched that.
I still only seen that first.
It was the first one?
Yeah, you never made me watch that, so you kept telling me you were going to.
We never watched the hot dogs episode.
I think so.
Sorry, Doctor Who. Honestly, Daddy and the Big Boy's 4 minutes.
That's fine.
I'm going to shut it to you after this. We should and then watch it.
Okay, yeah.
You like that plan?
Oh, man. Wait, the whole thing's only 4 minutes?
Oh, the entire show together is 30 minutes,
okay.
Every episode, if you wanted to watch that.
I'll see what I might.
Okay. Yeah, it's I'm done talking about it. Folks in the chat, if you've seen Daddy and the Big Boy, just press 1 and don't spoil it for Jesse.
Now, hold on. Now, I'm trying to remember if you have. Maybe you have shown me all of it before or not. I'm trying to remember. We'll talk about it off air.
Put it like this. I'll find it because I got to log into the streaming service.
Yeah.
And I'll put it on. And if you've seen it, we'll turn it right off.
I'm just trying to remember if this is something I've seen the first 4 minutes of or if I've seen 30 minutes of, basically. And I can't remember. But I also feel like I had seen the first episode previously. And then I saw more of it with you. So I feel like we would have just watched the whole thing. So what I'm saying is, don't quote me on any of this. I don't know.
I know. That you don't know that I know that you don't know. Like a cherry.
I don't get about this business about being offended by age. I turned 30 and I didn't stress about it for a second.
So why don't we talk about this new movie you introduced me to?
Oh, yeah. Jeff, until yesterday?
2 nights ago.
2 nights ago, right. Had never seen. Really? It was 2 nights ago? Had never seen Dirty Dancing.
And I had the time of my life watching it.
I love you.
I love you too. It was a good movie. I'm not into chick flicks, but there are certain the 80s movies in general. I'll give a shot to almost anyone. It's good. It's in there.
You know what this tastes like? This cocoa?
Mm-hmm.
You know those cakes that have the curly chocolate or white chocolate chips on them?
Mm-hmm.
It tastes like those. I fucking love those.
Okay, this definitely tastes like white chocolate.
Mm-hmm. It tastes like those big white chocolate chips you get in the cake.
I love white chocolate so much.
Oh, good.
I love white chocolate so much. I'm just gonna start calling it Jesse.
Huh.
I wasn't gonna say that on air.
So, what was your favorite part of Dirty Dancing? You had to pick one.
Okay, so I am a sucker for good resolutions in movies. Even if they're not ham-fisted, but even if they're just boom, 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 boom. You sit and watch all the resolutions. So my favorite part, I hate to say it, is very dumb so far, just off the top of my head, was when the dad apologized to him.
I love it.
And he goes
I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong.
I was just shit, everyone in this movie is just very matter of fact.
Well, I love it because there's so much layer. It's funny because there's so much layer. There's so many layers in that whole exchange that add a lot of richness to the movie, which is it's the dad realizing it's the moment he needs to put the pieces together, you know. It's because specifically when I don't want to install anything. When Robbie reveals that he's the one who knocked up Penny, it puts all the pieces together for him. Because not only does he realize that Johnny is not who he thought he was, but he also realizes that beyond that, his daughter is exactly who he thought he was, and Johnny's an even better person than he would ever have given him credit for, because not only did they do the right thing by Penny and help her out and all this stuff, but they also protected this creep. They could have gotten him fired. They could have gotten him. They could have, she could have tried to make him feel better about Johnny by throwing Robbie under the bus and all this shit and whatnot. And to me, it's it speaks volumes about their character that they don't do that. They never pulled that card, and that he realizes that in that moment. He realizes who his daughter is and who Johnny is, because not only are they the kind of people that do right by each other, but they're the kind of people who don't hurt other people, even if they deserve it. And that little moment to me is kind of, why he can go to Johnny and say that,
I also I also enjoy how it's not a melodramatic movie.
No,
there are moments where you're like, oh, I get the romance and shit, but I never went and rolled my eyes watching it.
No,
they never played into the when they're in bed. They didn't oh, we're gonna go play charades, and then they're in bed. They've already banged. They don't make it another Patrick Swayze film, Ghost. That scene with the fucking that's
iconic scene. First of all, I cannot get into that fucking scene because I'm you are just getting felt up by a black chick. This is not.
But do you
him.
know what I mean? Though, that, like, how that scene's just
Oh,
over
yeah.
the top, and it's mushy, it's shitty, it's this, it's that. I'll give Dirty Dancing this. Yes, it has moments that are very cliched, but when something invents a cliche,
Exactly.
I don't hold it against it. I actually give it all the credit. So you can say,
Oh, yeah.
well, Star Wars is responsible for all these terrible things. Yeah, but Star Wars isn't this terrible thing.
No.
So I don't, know what I'm saying? So that's why I give this movie such a pass. Good soundtrack, good acting.
Isn't it always fun too, like when there's a movie that you've known an iconic line from it forever, and then you go and watch the movie and you're like, oh, there it is.
Baby in the car.
Exactly.
My mom knows that line, but she always messes up and says the baby. So it's like, no, he puts the baby in the corner. I'm like, her name's Baby, Mom, but I never correct her because it's cute the way she gets excited to use the quote when she can.
That's adorable. I love that.
I like a lot of what you would consider 80s chick flicks, like the Molly Ringwald stuff.
I love all the Howard Hughes ones. Yeah.
Howard Hughes. John Hughes.
John Hughes, sorry. Brain fart.
But the other director's Howard Deutsch. That's why I went Howard Hughes. Because Howard Deutsch directs
Howard Deutsch is the grittier ones. The grittier John Hughes ones.
That have Molly Ringwald?
Howard Hughes, very different person.
Yeah, he had been dead by that point.
Just a lot.
Oh, Way of the Future.
Very much.
It's a great movie. The Aviator.
That, I think, is probably the role he should have won the Oscar.
I agree 100%. That's the one I would have given it to.
To me, that's the Oscar movie. Because that's really, you're talking about, that's the movie to me where the boy became a man. He had done at that point, like, Gangs in New York, his face is filling out, he's getting a little fatter and shit, and he's aging up and whatnot.
Gangs in New York, yeah, it was after
Are
the
you
Aviator.
sure?
I thought Gangs in New York was
I thought Gangs in New York was right before the
Aviator. Probably before. I was thinking,
sorry. Yeah, Gangs in New York definitely before Aviator, because that was Gangs in New York was really one of the first times I saw this this post Leo selling his soul to the devil. That's what I say. I say Leo sold his looks for talent. So he was this pretty boy heartthrob. He realized I ain't gonna be pretty forever, so I don't need this pretty face anymore. You can fuck around with it a little bit. Just give me I want the talent.
Have you seen that picture online that says Leonardo DiCaprio slowly turning into Jack Nicholson?
Oh my god, it's terrible because it's true. I knew a guy. Fun fact: I know you don't love stories that start with, I knew a guy. But you might appreciate this one because this was just a friend of mine from high school and whatnot, and we hooked up and whatnot. And as he got older, though, he started to sound like Jack Nicholson. And once that happened, I was like, I can't be friends with you anymore. Like, we can't ever I can't. No, it's just too creepy. The thing is, he doesn't look anything like him. He just, as his voice matured, started to kind of sound like him, and it was really unfortunate because it's not a good sound. Like.
It is fortunate because he's got a cool ass voice.
I would say it's not a pleasing voice. No, you put it that way. It's not a pleasing voice to hear. So it's not fortunate.
Very white.
So you have a very pleasing voice.
Thank you. For years, I hated my voice.
I know. I think it's crazy.
There was this girl named Nicole, and so I was like, "You have a nice voice," and I went, "No, I hate my voice." She goes, "Why?" And I couldn't give her an answer, so I just stopped.
It's a good reason to.
Because I think everyone has that disconnect when they hear a recording of their voice. Yeah. Now, I don't.
Hear it so much.
I hear it every day.
Exactly.
In recordings, it's just like, Now
I
know what an actor feels like when they see themselves in the movie. It's like, yeah, I'm sure Robert Downey Jr. goes, wow, this really came together nicely.
Trust me. Dude, you get it too with the video, with the visual parts too a little bit, but that I think is the way more jarring part. Like, you get used to let me put it this way. I think you get used to the voice, hearing your own voice a lot faster than you get used to seeing yourself act visually. Because I think it's just, there's something so weird about when you know how you talk about being your own worst critic as an artist, and always be able to see the flaws in your work and whatnot.
That's how our actors are.
I mean, think of already though. Think of how critical we as regular people are of actors already. Like, just when you watch a movie, you've never seen it, and people who've never acted a second in their life,
do you know why?
Can spot. But you can spot it.
But I can sympathize though with the people and what they're feeling.
Yeah.
Just from your one friend. We won't say her name because it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But she wore a face mask on Thanksgiving. Like, hearing her talk and how she's always thinking about how everyone sees her, and
because she's had to.
Yeah. So somebody who's had that does something different now.
Yeah.
But not always under the microscope.
Yeah.
I can imagine just seeing her talk about it and how she gets. I could imagine on a grand scale, like a Kat Dennings. I remember when younger, or when she was younger too, she's like, you never know how ugly you are until you go to the IMDb message board. I was like, fuck, that sounds kind of harsh. So I get it. Like, I can understand like the critical everything.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The thing is with that too, though, it's beyond that. I mean, the thing is acting is one of those things like because you're trying to imitate something that literally everybody does all day, which is just be human, be alive, be regular. It is really easy to spot when that is not working. Especially, you can get away with it in like artsier films, or like regular moviegoers can be spoon-fed a certain level of melodrama in the right kind of movie and not notice it. But in like the really realistic ones, the ones that are supposed to be really human or set in the here and now and stuff like that, anyone can spot when a moment doesn't feel organic or authentic or this or that. You know, you don't have to be an A-list actor to feel whether the actor disappeared into the role or didn't. So you already have that. You already have everyone's naturally an expert because we all know what it looks like when someone's lying or not. And then you add the layer on top of that of, you know, what you were thinking, feeling, going through in that moment. You know which moments are, you know, organic or not. And you're constantly judging. And then on top of that, there's every micro expression, every movement or moment or gesture or thing your face did that you weren't controlling or aware of in that moment that you all get to see there. And then you're like, it's impossible. It's like I've had the, you know, the whole take of something being like, okay, let me make sure for this entire one I'm making sure that my sight line is correct and here and there and there and there. I did this whole fucking thing, did this for the music video I shot, and then I realized I have resting retard face. It's a phrase I made up to describe people like myself who, when they don't think about it, their natural resting facial position looks something like this.
Well, RRF sufferers are all over the globe, so I mean, you're not alone.
Nick Foles, Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles has resting retard face, and that's one of the reasons I will always love him, in addition to the fact that he won the Super Bowl for my team.
The guy's giving you shit because your quarterback, a new quarterback now.
Yeah, our quarterback just got benched. Please, Nick Foles, where are you? You are currently injured in Chicago, is where. For some reason, I don't know why. I don't know why, if it's like people just hate Nick Foles for being this really good guy. He's one of those people, it's like probably people hate him for being just incorrigibly decent, because he's like, he played backup in college, never, you know, just was comfortably, happily the backup until the starter went down, and then he had this amazing career, and for like 2 years in college, goes into the NFL, becomes a backup again, just quietly becomes a backup, happily becomes a backup, until his great time of need, when he, you know, steps in for the Eagles and has this incredible career that doesn't last. It's very shaky, so eventually they replace him, partially because Chip Kelly's an idiot, and he goes back to being a backup somewhere else. Well, he goes, they try to start him in St. Louis, and then doesn't work out. He goes back to being a backup, and literally he just goes back to being a backup, goes back to being a backup, comes back around to the Eagles as a backup, becomes their starter, wins the fucking Super Bowl, goes down to become a starter, gets injured. The new starter comes and takes over, does great, becomes a backup again, gets over to Chicago as a backup. Their starter becomes a healthy, they scratch Trubisky. I think a healthy scratch. He comes in, he gets jacked up. Now he's uninjured again. I don't know how Trubisky's been playing in his absence and whatnot, but it's just like this guy comes out and has, for this journeyman backup quarterback, has statistics up there with the all-time great quarterbacks. But he just like pops up, throws 7 touchdowns, disappears, pops up a few years later, wins a fucking Super Bowl, disappears. Like, what the hell?
He knows where and when he's needed.
He really does, though. I want to read his book.
I would never read an athlete's book.
They're all ghostwritten, so they're readable. But I'd want to read his, though, because I feel like it's such an interesting, like, how many journeyman quarterbacks go out, win a Super Bowl, and then just go right back to being a journeyman quarterback. Like, they don't inherit the team. You have that story all the time. I mean, Tom Brady is the classic example, you know, inherits the team, wins the Super Bowl, becomes the next big thing. Nick
I'm
Foles
so
is
glad
this.
that's over, by the way.
God, thank the fucking gods the Brady era is done. Thank the fucking God. I was so sick of the Patriots dynasty. Jesus Christ. It made football not fun. Chiefs fans out there, by the way, we're watching you because right now you got a great team. You got a solid quarterback, some good pieces. Love your coach. But we're fucking watching you because some of you guys are getting a little bold. You're puffing up your chest. You're forgetting that it wasn't that long ago that y'all were the ones crying down in the dirt with the rest of us. So we're watching you because you guys may be very well poised to be the next big dynasty in football. Don't become Patriot fans. Just like I warned the mindless mob, right? Don't become Last Jedi fans. I'm warning the Chiefs fans out there. Don't become Patriots fans.
You ever notice, since you brought up Don't Be Last Jedi fans, nobody is fighting about this week's episode?
Notice that.
Mandalorian?
It's no one's being a bitch about it. People are allowed their opinions and they know that. They think they feel very comfortable voicing them.
I think it's safe to say The Mandalorian should be an original trilogy character show. Keep that new shit out. It just doesn't fit. Like I say don't put any of the original people in.
Oh, absolutely. But if you're going to do anything, the original trilogy feels like it has a place in the show more
because it takes place in that world.
It takes place in that world. They rebuilt that universe to populate it. It's based off of in spite of what they're shoehorning in, to make it relational and whatnot, the show still feels based off of the fallout of the Return of the Jedi more than the preamble to The Force Awakens. And it should stay there because The Return of the Jedi is a great movie and The Force Awakens is a dog shit movie.
How did you feel about Moff Gideon's robots? I thought that was one of the coolest things nobody seems to be talking about. Because Star Wars and robots go hand in hand.
I thought they were really cool looking. Well, they were cool looking. I wasn't sure if the aesthetic felt a little out of place, though. It was like one of those things where as they came screaming down, you get this almost Terminator-esque CGI, later Terminator CGI kind of look to them.
Oh, that looked bad. I thought the design was cool because it reminded me of the old Fleischer Superman robots. Remember the robot that turned into the airplane that Superman had to fight? I was getting that kind of a vibe. Yeah. I was like, that's cool because the motion looks like otherworldly. I was digging it.
I gotta say, though, I was a little underwhelmed by their performance. It just feels like, that we already had, they were...
Well, the robots, Jesse.
But I mean, we got them screaming in there as the new big, as the boss fight, right? But we already had wave number gajillion of stormtroopers. It just felt like a denouement after everything else that was getting thrown at them. I would have wanted, if dealing with that many waves of stormtroopers had felt really easy for them, then send in the big bad robots. Then it becomes, Phantom Menace with all the battle droids and whatnot, and all of a sudden the destroyers show up, and oh shit, that kind of thing. But it just felt like they were pinned down by these stormtroopers. The second wave of stormtroopers come in, and it's like, oh shit, we're hopeless, we're helpless, and whatnot. And then these fucking, big badass droids come down, and they just scoop up the child and bounce. And you're like, okay.
The reason I liked it so much, though, is because they fought off these stormtroopers, and you think, oh, shit, okay, cool. And then it's like, nope.
Bye-bye.
So it's like one more thing. And then they're going to have to fight these things.
I guess I'm just impatient because I wanted to see them in action. But, of course, they're going to pay it off later.
You're the one that brought 3-episode arc at the very beginning of this one. I wonder if they're going to do that to close out the season.
3-episode arc.
If you cut out Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano episodes, I think this is a solid season. Better than the last season because the Ice Spider episode isn't as bad as season 1, episode 4.
Yep, agreed.
And there were more offensive. And I thought episode 8 of season 1 was kind of a letdown.
It was pretty
I thought
lame.
For a finale, it was kind of a limp dick finale. I feel like I got henny dick.
That said, especially because I thought the penultimate episode was very, very strong.
It was damn in the fucking bar, that shootout.
Oh God. So yeah. Now that said, to me, even before we see what they do with the last 2 episodes, you put episodes 3 and 5 back in, and season 2 by default is worse than the first one because it just stops making sense. It just doesn't make any sense anymore. The world doesn't make sense anymore. The other thing, the thing that you don't think about too is people like to forget. Clone Wars created this really interesting bridge between the old era of Star Wars and the Disney era of Star Wars, where it's really the thing that brings in this concept that the EU has to be one cohesive story. You know, I feel like prior to that, even with, you know, Lucasfilm approving all the storylines, you had inconsistencies, minor, relatively, I'll say inconsistencies that didn't matter in the scope of the original trilogy story. Let's put it that way. As if it was, you know, a discrepancy in the actual way certain events worked, or certain characters, or the lore of certain creatures or races or whatnot, they changed from book to book depending on who wrote them. You know, if this was the you know, young Anakin series, or the young Han Solo series, or the young Boba Fett series, the lore of the creatures, elements about them, little details about the universe, about the planets, about the characters, are going to be different, you know, because this is just a loosely licensed network of people who, you know, have a story they want to tell in Star Wars, and they get a stamp of approval to tell it. And that was a great model, because what it did is it reinforced this idea that if Lucas didn't make it, it's not precious, which is correct in a way. That's not to say that everything Lucas made is and should be precious. Of course, he made mistakes and missteps too, but I would argue by default, you're not the creator. You didn't create Star Wars. Anything you make is by default going to be less precious than the person who invented this world. And so you had that element, that thread of like, this is canon, but it's also fluid. So canon can change. Canon can be different based on what you subscribe to. And that, to me, Star Wars was really fun, because the arguments then they were never about what's true or real in Star Wars. They were about which parts of Star Wars you personally digested and chose to accept. So there wasn't right or wrong. That's why you didn't have this animosity, this gatekeeping that all the SJWs want to, you know, wrongly claim as part of our world. All these new nerds want to, you know, claim as part of our society. No, we're not gatekeeping. We've never been gatekeeping. The only reason you felt we were gatekeeping is because you didn't have the tools to engage with us. You didn't learn our language. You came in here. It's like you wouldn't fly to fucking France, go to a restaurant, find your waiters and waitresses who didn't speak English, and then throw a tantrum that they were gatekeeping the food from you and gatekeeping the culture from you because they spoke their language and not yours. It's the same fucking shit.
Thank you. It's a great comparison.
You came into our universe where we have a language, we have a society, we have a way of existing. And you wanted to start, and then you didn't like it. You didn't like that way. You wanted to do something different. And you got mad. Oh, you're gatekeeping us. No, you just showed up here. You're the fucking imperialists. You showed up. You are the people who showed up in Africa and slaughtered villages because they wouldn't accept Christianity. That's fucking you. You know, it's social justice. We're so great. Inclusivity, diversity, whatever. You are the motherfucking imperialists. You know, you want to show up in a community. By the way, yes, a community, a safe haven, marginalized community of people who, generally speaking, don't fit in other places and have a history of being ostracized and bullied out of other groups and treated poorly. And you came into our group where we have developed a society around our culture because we all are bonded, and not because we're trying to keep anyone out, because we all love it the same way. We all talk the same talk about it. We all share the same language about it because we love it in the same way. And y'all want to fucking come in and tell us we are doing it wrong, tell us how we need to do it your way, complain that we are gatekeeping your thing, and make all this about the right way and the wrong way. So now you have Clone Wars building this bridge into this unified universe where now everything is from Disney. You don't have this stamp of approval anymore, this loosely tied together stories, this Star Wars is now, talk about fucking gatekeepers, you know? People who wrote for the EU prior to Disney were anybody. Literally anybody who got approval to do it. And in the earlier days, it was even easier, you know, before there were more storylines and whatnots.
Yeah.
How did they approve more people in the earlier, when they first started?
Dude, that was tasked with bringing Star Wars back. That was just Timothy Zahn. That was just one dude. Those are those stories that everyone goes on about being great. Like one guy. But
there were more. I'm saying, like, there were more than just the Timothy Zahn books.
No, I'm not saying that. But like when the EU got bigger,
exploded.
There's Splinter of the Mind's Eye. There's a handful of books for when Star Wars was out that there are EU books. Yeah. Everyone acknowledges that Timothy Zahn, Heir to the Empire, started it. It was just one guy. It was like real hard. It was like, because they knew Star Wars had to come back to a degree.
Yeah.
Those ones were treated like there's more effort put in.
Yeah.
The more they go, the less effort they're putting
I was
in.
not about effort. I just mean in terms of who could actually get to write a Star Wars book. It wasn't like they were going out and like you had staff writers and contract people and whatnot. In the early days of the EU, it was,
Zahn.
It was Timothy Zahn, but then after Timothy Zahn started, writing and whatnot, it was like, it was people coming to Lucasfilms saying, I have an idea for an EU story, and getting it approved. And yes, it was it still had to fit the lore. It had to be whatever. There were certain whatnots you had to, if you got a story approved, you were under the scrutiny of Lucasfilm then to make sure it fit the lore and fit to this and fit to that. But it wasn't Lucasfilm saying, we know what the EU is. We have decided where the stories are going and we're going to look for writers to tell our stories. It was Star Wars fans coming up with stories they wanted to tell in the Star Wars universe, and Lucasfilm finding the right people that, who already had the stories they wanted to tell, finding the right stories within that. Does that make sense? What I'm saying, as opposed to now, where, sorry, just making sure I saw all the, because I missed the Canadian Spider-Man one from before too. Yeah. I just want to make sure I didn't lose that one in the long run because I saw a new one come in. Words. As opposed to now, where everything for the EU just comes from Disney. Everything for the expanded universe, all the books, all the directions and whatnot. Sure, they're letting writers make their own stories and whatnot, but that was earlier this year that the whole High Republic bullshit.
No one cares about that.
Nobody cares. Because it's not about passionate people who are passionate about Star Wars telling Star Wars stories in the universe. It's about Disney trying to tell you what to like about Star Wars.
Well, I think Star Wars needs an Orville.
Yeah.
But the cool part is we could be those people.
It's true.
But I think there needs to be something that captures the spirit of Star Wars that's not Star Wars, to go like, hey, this is how you do it. But I also hate to say this. I think it's just too late for Star Wars. There's earlier, and everyone was trying to come up with a way to fix the universe or this or that. There was more coming out on the big screen. Star Wars is a big theatrical product. It's not a TV series, contrary to popular belief. With the uncertainty of that, it just feels like, why even put the energy to come up with a better theory, or why even put the energy into giving a shit about the next thing?
Here's a question though. I mean, we're seeing the death of the big budget film. We've seen it. It happened. The big budget film was dead.
It's sad to think the Rise of Skywalker is like the
last big budget,
like 200. Well, it's like 500. Yeah, that's the last huge budget movie, and it probably will be.
Yeah.
Well, no. Mulan, but that didn't come out.
That said, that kind of goes back into what we talked about though with Endgame and what we would have done to really immortalize it. Although realistically, if they had done that, that would have completely gotten fucked up by coronavirus, and then that would have changed, what they were able to do with Endgame in the long run. And now, as it stands, Endgame may forever be the biggest movie of all time because there just may never be a theater scene that supports a bigger film.
Well, what will happen? Our next metric will be most successful film in terms of profitability. They'll stop. I bet you what will happen is they'll force their hand. They'll know. I can't speak tonight. Sorry. They'll no longer be able to do this fucky Hollywood accounting where they sit and promote grosses. Instead of a movie that grossed $1 billion, it's going to become what movie grossed the most or had the most percentage profit.
The net,
the net profit. That'll be what these websites start promoting. Like, in profit, this movie made this much money, and so movies will look smaller.
Well, so then you know what it's about, though. It's not and then it stops being about pumping the most money into the film. It starts being about how to make the best film on the lowest budget, which sounds a lot like the conditions that create good movies.
Now, I got a question for you for the flip. With the ease of accessibility and the lack of just common sense and taste, society is really eating up a lot of bullshit.
True.
I think we're being a little too optimistic, expecting low-budget films to require more effort. I think we're going to also see the super generic, redundant, safe movie that a lot of people are going to eat up because it looks...
But here's why that's going to change over time, though, right? What's the difference between the quality of movie you and I can make and the quality of movie Marvel Studios can make?
A lot.
A few $100 million. And that's it. If you and I had a few $100 million to make a movie with, could you and I produce something of that quality? Do we have the talent? Do we have the connections? Do we have the ability to produce something?
Well, there's one thing though. We have to have an IP as recognizable because they kind of bought into that.
I just mean the physical product. I don't necessarily mean the splash or the audience or the whatever. I just mean the physical product. I mean the physical product.
In theory, you could make something comparable.
What
Maybe
I'm saying,
quality is subjective, but yeah, you could make something that looks
what I'm
as
saying,
good.
do you think you and I
no, just keep us. Just keep us.
You and I. Do you think you and I, if all we had was money, if we had money was no object, that's the only thing we were given tomorrow was an infinite amount of money to make a movie. Could you and I make a movie that looked as good as a major Hollywood blockbuster?
Yeah, because we would be a major Hollywood blockbuster.
Exactly.
Because the only thing that makes it a major Hollywood blockbuster is the money.
Exactly.
I understand that.
Of course.
We could go fucking farm out ILM.
Of course.
What's the difference between us doing it versus a company doing it? It's money's money. They'll take the job.
However, right now, film distribution, you can get your film in front of as many eyes on a good independent circuit and then get it into the major theatrical circuit as easily as much more easily than you ever have been able to before as an independent filmmaker. So my point is that when that money barrier goes away and now your Universal Studios filmmakers are making movies, but you're Joe Schmo crowdfunded, not so Joe Schmo, but you're hard working independent filmmakers who are operating on crowdfunding and smaller contributions from investors and producers and stuff, but are still able to cobble together a reasonable budget that's comparable to now what these bigger studios are putting into their movies because of the profits. There is now no difference in the quality of movie the independent filmmakers can put out versus the studio. So and again, with distribution, these people have just as much opportunity to get in front of people with Netflix, with all the streaming services and whatnot. So if your independent filmmakers are putting out movies of better quality, over time, people start to find those movies. People start to find where the quality is. And even if those filmmakers just get hired by those studios to make their movies, the cycle starts all over again. But for a period of time, we enjoy, good cinema.
I think that's an idyllic look and an unrealistic situation because the quality bar is so subjective. And so what you and I might enjoy, the masses might not. True. And I keep using this example. Transformers movies are hugely popular around the world. They're dumb. Everything people say about them is true, but people around the world go see it. I think there'll always be that demand. And you might have a smaller budget, but I don't think that means different. I don't think it'll be higher art. I think it'll be just as stupid, just cheaper.
I'm not disagreeing with that point. My point is that my whole point is that you will have plenty of people, and the whole thing is better and looks better. It doesn't necessarily mean headier or higher art or more whatever cinema. I mean, just literally like the quality of Hollywood's,
are you talking like technical quality, or are you talking like
technical quality?
Like technical.
That's my whole point is that the overall. I mean, technical quality and written quality, and all that stuff. I'm saying the overall quality. Not just technical. The overall quality of Hollywood's just whatever family film, whatever basic Joe Schmo cookie cutter. We're not looking for the Oscar. We're just looking for the paycheck movie has gone down too. So that low-hanging fruit, those crowd pleaser bullshit, whatever movies, those are the kinds of movies that regular independent filmmakers now can just make, but better. That's my whole point, is that the basic quality of the bottom feeder film that you can just feed to anybody has gone down because Hollywood has gotten lazy because they have the monopoly on pumping, $100 million into a movie, putting a few A-list stars in and knowing they can turn out, a profit on that. So if now you can have everyone else, okay, well, because basically this movie, dropped the ball everywhere else in price and just sunk all their money into getting, I don't know, Scarlett Johansson could go do a fucking chick flick because they know they'll make money on it. So great, we can make a garbage movie, pay her a whole huge ton and make money. The independent studio, they're not going to spend their money on Scarlett Johansson because they can't afford her and they can't get her anyway. They're going to spend all that money on making the same fucking story, the same basic, feel good chick flick, whatever movie, but they're going to make a really, really good one that people actually watch and talk about.
But I think there's like that joke, step 1, step 2, step 4, 3 profit. I think we're skipping. I think we're skipping a step because the market's going to dictate what it wants. So just because the filmmaker that's a smaller budget can do something that's comparable doesn't mean it's going to work. I think it's is safe to say they're going to make something better. It's safe to say that they're going to make something that just doesn't resonate, because there's always going to be. It's not about just the film. We talk about distribution. There's always going to be marketing too. If Paramount makes a chick flick for $60 million and somebody, independent one makes one, and the independent one might be better, Paramount might have pull with Hulu. You might see streaming commercials for those ones. You might basically, if they're going to be priced out of like what's the viability of a big budget movie, then they might go and take the commercial aspect and basically make themselves appear like they're the only thing.
Here's why that won't happen though. Who right now are producing some of the highest volume of good quality, low budget independent films?
I don't know, because I'm not
the streaming platform.
But I'm not
streaming platforms.
They're not low budget though.
They're comparatively, they are.
Not all of them.
Not anymore. But the thing is look at the model though. The exact model that we're going to see. Netflix did it. Netflix's problem, the reason why it didn't last, why it was just a little blip and it was here and gone, is because they miscalculated and sat on the market for too long before getting into production. Because when Netflix decides, hey, we're going to start making shit of our own, yeah, they're the number one streaming service, the leading streaming service, and at the time still one of the only real, widespread viable ones. But as a production house, they're nobody. They're peanuts. They're bullshit. But they just have more. The whole thing is still, as a production house, Netflix. Yes, they're teaming up with bigger studios and stuff like that. But a Netflix original that doesn't have a studio behind it is still a low budget independent film right now.
But now the serious question to ask though is, who actually is watching those, and who the subscription model is kind of tricky to judge from what we have public knowledge of, because I don't pay for Netflix for any of their independently produced Netflix budget stuff. I only keep it to watch The Twilight Zone and other things. So where I'm talking about is like, what's going to get you into the streaming service?
Well, I feel like you're asking new questions before I had a chance to finish answering the one I was answering before. Because now I don't remember what I was trying to say before or what the new question is. Oh, no, because before all that, the point I was making about Netflix was that when they, just a few years ago, were like, hey, we're making movies now, they immediately threw out hits in every genre. Or not every, but they immediately threw out, very genre-specific hits right away.
Only on their TV shows, though, because none of their films are huge hits.
Not huge, but memorable. Because hear me out. The Beast of No Nation, right?
Never heard of it.
It was an Academy Award nominated film. I don't remember if it won or not, but it was the film that got everyone talking about Idris Elba. But perhaps you did not hear about it. I'm sure.
I'm not trying to be funny.
I believe you.
This is.
I believe you didn't hear about it. It was the movie. It was the Idris Elba Netflix. It was a whole big deal because it was a Netflix original. It was the very first time a made-for-streaming movie was nominated for an Academy Award. It was the movie about this general with the child soldiers in Africa. It's a phenomenal film. Really, really great movie, and absolutely delivers a phenomenal performance. Yes, he's the most overhyped actor of our generation, but he delivers an absolutely baller, phenomenal performance in Beast of the Nation. I'm gonna hit a couple of these super chats because I know we're getting a little behind on those. I want to make sure everyone knows that we care. They are right there. That is where they are. Canadian Spider-Man says, we had such hope for our beloved franchise once the filmmaking technique caught up with our imaginations, and we got gypped. Star Wars and Star Trek could have been great.
I don't think filmmaking's caught up to our imagination.
I think the problem is that the filmmaking keeps getting better and the imagination keeps deteriorating.
Because we rely on the tool instead of the
exactly
what to make the tool
we've
work.
traded one for the other. We've gotten caught up with the technology. We've forgotten what we're supposed to be doing with it, which is coming up with fun imaginative shit. So we got a hell yeah from Stone Cold Jeremy.
Why you got a hell yeah?
I don't remember why we got a hell yeah. Do you remember what we got a hell yeah for?
You just don't know.
What? I don't. Oh, is it a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know that.
Stone Cold's catchphrase.
It's hell yeah.
Give me a hell yeah. So you gotta say hell yeah. Give me a hell yeah. Like a real hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, the whole crowd cheers. Hell yeah. So give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Dude paid you. There you go. That's the only reason why I'm like, hey, wrestling fans are few and far between in this community, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep them around so I can go on Thursday night and gush how great NXT War Games was, and people will come and listen to talk about it. This is us talking about it. It was a phenomenal show. I had such fun.
I just love that you get all affronted at me like I did something wrong when it's like, bitch, I don't know this shit.
That's why I'm giving you shit.
John Jenkins, my bad. I'm sorry.
Josh
laughing.
Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. His name is my name too. Your mom's are fucked up. Who can you imagine? What's wrong with your mother?
Mine?
No, John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt's mother, obviously. Your mother's a lovely person, and she named you Jeffrey after your father. So,
not John Jacob.
Not John Jacob Jingleheimer.
Maybe he's just German. He actually would be Jingleheimer Schmidt.
Jingleheimer, he's definitely German.
It'd be Johann Jakob.
Johann Jakob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
What are you, a fucking... Hey, SpongeBob, Mr. Smitty Werbenheimer Man Jansen. That's the only joke from that show that still makes me laugh. He was number one. You ever seen that one?
I don't think so.
They found like a dead guy's headstone, and like all he had was a hat, one of those beer drinking hats that said number one. It's like Smitty Werbenheimer Man Jansen. He was number one.
I love it.
It was retarded.
I love how every character ever named Smitty is the exact same character.
Wait till you watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Jason Sudeikis. Schmitty.
Oh, okay.
He's their former gang member they kicked out. Literally kicked out of the gang. It's a movie car.
Oh, John Jenkins has just got off. Jeff, High Republic, worst I've seen as an artist yourself. Am I being too harsh? And Jesse, you're much too calm for my taste. I know it's been a mellow evening. Honestly, also, I gotta say, I'm loving my hair tonight. So if you've noticed, the flips have been on the lower side. I've just been really happy with the way it looks. And I don't want it's super shiny, and it's got all the layers showing and the little feathering in the front with the way it turned out. So I'm like touching, messing with the top, but I don't want to mess with the side here because I feel like it
looks great.
It's perfect.
Now, hold on. What? I got to answer the super chat question.
Oh, yeah.
I think it looks like shit, but for different reasons. So when I critique art, I think people need to always think of two things. Talking about the talent of the artist versus the design of the product. It's like last week, the whatchamacallit lady, daughter of Starfire. Good artist, dumb design. Even showed on the show. He designed Metallica covers and shit. I think the artist who drew the High Republic is talented and qualified. But whoever designed that or their design work was bad. So I think Arkham Knight is a wonderful looking video game, but I think it's over-designed. So I can understand the artistic merit of the person who created it, but at the end of the day, fuck the High Republic. I think it's a poorly designed book series, and I don't think it'll succeed because reverse engineering Star Wars barely worked for the prequels with George Lucas involved. So to try to reverse engineer Star Wars again without the guy that at least knows what the fucking DNA of the franchise is, give it up. So as an artist, if you're asking for my take, I don't like the look.
No bueno. No bueno. Canadian Spider-Man says, if you haven't seen the movie Slapshot, please do. I have not.
You don't remember to take a screenshot. I'll remind you to watch Slapshot. It's a good movie.
Remind me to watch Slapshot. I've heard of it. I know of it, obviously. I've never seen it.
Nintendo loves that movie.
So the point of the thing I was saying, though, was Netflix did something very, very particular, which is that they used all their metrics, they studied all that shit, and they tried to make, which they did do. They succeeded unequivocally. I don't think you can really. I don't think there's much of a counter argument to say they didn't succeed at figuring out the formulas for the genres that they were going for. Because hear me out, right? So Beast of No Nation is this Oscar bait drama film, right? It's their fucking first attempt. It's their first. I think it was their first original feature film Oscar nomination. And yeah, there's all the politics and the this and that and the other and whatnot. But
what year was this? No, I'll look it up. I'm just curious. I've never heard of this movie.
It was since I've lived out here, but not much. So I want to say it was 2015 or 16.
2015. Oh, the guy that directed the new James Bond movie directed this one.
Oh, well, that's not the one that hasn't come out yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't know yet. I don't know what else he's done, but
that's all I really know.
It's a really good
movie. All I know
is
he's the first American to direct a James Bond film ever.
I will say that this is a really, really good movie, but that it gives you very little sense of how he's going to do with a James Bond film because it's a very different style.
Well, to be fair, this movie is like Cuties. They just distributed it.
Okay.
This is not made by them. It's based on a book.
Okay.
It was screened for the main competition at the Venice Film Festival. It won the award there.
But
then it went to Toronto, and then it was picked up by Netflix, and a limited release in theaters.
Yeah. Well, it had to have the limited theatrical release to qualify for the Oscar.
But I'm saying that it's not a Netflix.
So it's not an original. Okay, that's fair. But it was their first. It was the first movie they released.
I don't think so. It's not that I'm trying to fight about the semantics. I
like
think
the first one they distributed. Check. I'm pretty sure this was the first one they officially. The first movie they slapped with the title Netflix original.
Let's see. They bought it for $12 million. No, it doesn't say anything about that in its Wikipedia page.
I wonder then. Netflix. Oh, Thursday is the first night of Hanukkah, by the way. Do you know where my menorah is? I know it's in the house somewhere. Obviously.
It's on the dresser in the plastic bag still.
Oh, is it still on the dresser? Okay.
I think. I know it was in the plastic bag.
I thought it had gotten moved around. I thought a lot of that stuff from the dresser ended up in one of the boxes.
It's still in that plastic bag, though.
I know,
so
I know,
like, when we go to look for it, we'll find it.
So it'll either be over there or it'll just be... And I know the Hanukkah candles were sitting on the shelf, and I know the cats kicked them around. I should find that. Let's see. So...
Damn, the guy that... He's been working on the script forever. Idris Elba was involved 2 years before the movie ever came out.
Really?
I mean, it's shot a year after he got involved, but still, I feel like it's a long time.
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if his involvement is part of the reason why it, got.
It was financed by Red Crown Productions, with participant media, and it only had a budget of $4.3 million, and then it eventually cost $6 million.
I mean, to be fair, Netflix. If you want to talk TV shows, Netflix's first original thing is officially House of Cards.
No, I was. Yeah. The point you were going to make about the film, I was going to counter and say I agree, but they built it on their TV streaming.
Well, they built it on that, but hear me out though. So you had this one, which is the first film they're like, oh, Oscar bait. Let me snap this up and distribute it. They get that one right, clearly. To be fair, it's Idris Elba in a clearly Oscar bait film. It's not that hard to pull out the win on that one, but. Stuff you're probably not aware of, I assume, is like pop culture, recent chick flick pop culture. Edge of 17. Did you hear about that movie when it came out? It was like, I don't know how many years ago now, probably 5-ish or so. It was touted in its in its marketing cycle and whatnot as, oh, it's going to be the biggest chick flick since Mean Girls, the next Mean Girls. It's the greatest chick flick ever. It's going to, blah, 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 this and that. It's the first one, since Mean Girls that everyone's going to want to go see. And it's so funny and this and that and the other and whatever. It sucked. It fucking blew dead bears. It was not funny. It was not entertaining. It was not even memorable. If I recall correctly, the only detail I think I can remember, I'm pretty sure Woody Harrelson was the teacher and he played like the sassy teacher that's like too honest. Basically, it felt like it was trying to be a grittier, edgier, easy A and not doing a good job. So this is the movie. Everyone's like, "You'd be the greatest," and it sucks. So Netflix decides, let's make a chick flick. They make The Kissing Booth. Right? Don't know if you heard about this one or not. Again, probably not chick flick life. But I will tell you, as a connoisseur of the chick flick circuit, this one did like. People who like chick flicks heard about this, know about this, saw this one. I had multiple conversations after seeing this film about this movie with other people who like chick flicks and how good it is when you go and watch it. Again, it's this unknown actors, actresses, all this shit, but they just watched, observed, and pointedly, purposefully made something that was appealing in that was just very universally appealing in that genre. Then they go do Bird Box. You don't have to like the movie. It's not a great movie. I think it's good. Other people may disagree. I don't think there's anything great or stellar this or that about it, but people were talking about it. People were talking about it a lot. There were a large amount of people that, your undiscerning masses, if you will, that ate that up. And so to me, that's exactly what I'm talking about, though, is you're going to have lots of filmmakers who are going to be able to look, watch, and see all that shit, see, here's the formula, here's this, okay, let's do it a little bit better. And you have places like Netflix, like Hulu, poised to snap these up. When you go back to the way it used to be with screenwriters, the big studios getting into bidding wars over screenplays, that shit's happening again now between these streaming studios.
Well, but the point you had made about the Netflix model and stuff, the Netflix model for movies, I think you're overblowing it, because whatever Variety magazine just put out the 100 most recognizable brands, Stranger Things is on there. Netflix is an entertainment producing company, but their TV shows are their big things. And what I'm trying to get at, though, is movie making is going to be movie making. The money is going to be into the big streaming shows, because you go down the street, I see more ads for streaming television series than I see films. And I know it's 2020, whatever. But before I ever moved out here, that big billboard down the street was Glow and all these other Netflix things. They're big money makers. They're things that are so popular that they will put on disc on top of their streaming service. Their shows are much bigger than their movies, and they have more of an impact.
But remember, the conversation we're having is not based on the way things have been. The conversation we're having is entirely based on the way things are going to be, but now that the theater landscape has changed.
But I don't think it'll change at all, because the home consumer landscape for the streaming is already cultivated.
So you think people are just going to stop watching movies?
Low budget movies, I think. Because streaming TV shows is the thing now. Binging TV shows is the trend.
But then how do higher budget movies make money?
Because they're big IPs that people can't get anywhere else.
They're saying literally, how are they going to make their money back on a streaming site? That's my whole point, is your movie theaters are dead. You're not going to have...
No, my point is the shift in the entertainment landscape is not going to be to smaller digestible films. Netflix found the model. You talk about the Netflix model. They found the model that is financially viable to do their big TV shows. Stranger Things, I would guarantee, brings in more money in one season for them than any of the movies that you've read.
Sure, but then who's making movies and where are people seeing them?
You're trying to ask me another question to stop, but what I'm telling you is I think that level of movie disappears in general.
That's what I'm saying.
And more shows become the thing again.
But that's what I'm saying, is movies, people aren't just going to stop making movies.
If there's no demand for a certain type of film, you'll be priced out, you'll be wiped out.
I just mean movies in general.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to get is movies will take on a different thing, because what a movie will be, it can be different genres, it can be different things. I was saying a movie is going to become, it has to be one thing to be financially viable.
Yes, I get, but my point I'm making is when the price of making movies, the price tag to make your top of the line movie comes down enough, your companies like Netflix and Hulu are now able to produce something that looks the same as your Universals, and they're also now buying up independent filmmakers who have backing.
That's the part I think you're losing it on.
That's where I think you're losing it on.
All the money in movies is not the independent art; it's the big shitty.
That's the whole point, though. If the money, the only reason why there are hundreds of millions of dollars being sunk into movies, into these movies, are because studios have hundreds of millions of dollars to play with, to sink into movies, to put out at these widespread theatrical releases and make $1 billion off of. You can't make $1 billion off of a movie when 75% of your movie theaters have closed. You cannot.
Yeah,
you cannot pay.
That's fine.
So my whole point is you have to pay less money to make the same quality of movies. If you're putting less money in, that bar goes down. If you're only putting this amount of money into movies, other people are putting that same amount of money into those movies. The whole thing is it doesn't go down scale. That's if Universal can't afford to put $300 million to make the next whatever movie, the next Fast and Furious movie, that has no impact on the amount of money independent filmmaker, whatever, can put into their next movie. It doesn't scale down. But that's not what
I'm arguing. I'm arguing people don't care about them already. They're not going to care about them just because they have a bigger platform. Like, I don't think the demands are. The thing is, the avenues for those filmmakers to succeed exist. I don't think the landscape's going to change enough. The landscape, in my opinion, is going to change to the TV model, where $250 million for a movie isn't viable, but you put it on a streaming service, you can make the money.
I disagree completely. A lot of the people making some of the best independent stuff today are people who are capable of working and having jobs and have had jobs. It's like what you see with Comicsgate, you know? There are people who work in the industry, have worked in the industry, in some cases continue to work in the industry. They go outside of the industry to make the projects they want to work on because the industry is so prohibitive in its creativity and what it allows for. So a lot of people making independent stuff today aren't doing it because they're not as good. They're not good enough to be mainstream filmmakers. They're doing it because because the studios keep them out.
That's not what I'm just talking from a consumer standpoint. Like, Comicsgate in the movie industry is not even comparable.
The whole point is the way the chain works. We are the studios that have the hundreds of millions of dollars to sink into the movies. Mm-hmm. We can buy up all the distribution rights. We can buy up all the screens. We can buy up all the avenues for you to see our stuff. You see our stuff. You only see our stuff. You only know our names. You only trust our brands. You're not going to go trust these guys over here because you don't know them. It's not because they're worse or lesser or not as talented or not putting out stuff as good. You're going to buy this film because you know what it is. It's a known commodity. And we have been banking off of that model for the past 20 years to sell you bullshit. Cool. Now, we can't afford to put the same amount of money into making the movies and monopolizing the distribution rights and the advertising rights and all these things. Now, other people making movies on the same budget we are can compete with us.
When do we know that they're going to get to making the same budgets, though?
That's my whole point.
If Marvel says we're going to slash our budgets in half, that's still a $150 million movie. That's still unrealistic. I think you talk about scaling things down. If you scale things down by 50%, and you're taking, other things and other places into account, if you're cutting your film division and you're still able to produce something so big, but it's still smaller than what you're.
The thing is, though, is we don't know yet how much these production companies are going to have to scale down to still turn a profit, and I think it's a lot. I think it's an order. I think it's going to be a larger. I think people are looking at this right now thinking, oh, film studios are just going to, it'll be like a 20% reduction in overall, profitability and this and that and the other. The movie theater industry has been ailing since we were kids. It's not a new thing. It's not like coronavirus stepped in, dealt the first blow, and then when this is all over, they'll get a big bailout and jump back.
I wasn't arguing
this is the final nail in the coffin. They're not coming back, not the way they were before, not in this new world and all that shit. And that's the profit for movies. That's where movies make their money outside of franchises that can cash in on massive amounts of merchandising and stuff like that. Movies make monies on ticket sales. That's, it's why we harp on the box office. And if there isn't a box office, that's not we got to figure out where to cut corners and slash budgets. We need to fundamentally rework the way we approach movie making.
To a degree, yes, and to a degree, no. Because when you talk about these big companies, it's like with the comics, they don't want to get better because they have Marvel and Disney money behind them. They're always going to have Disney money behind them. They're going to have the big money behind them. What I'm trying to get at is the audience, just because the landscape has changed, doesn't mean the audience is going to all of a sudden want these things. So the filmmakers that have the better opportunity, it doesn't mean that the landscape's going to change, because we already watched these big budget streaming shows before coronavirus ever happened. The Boys was a thing. That's a very expensive show and it's a very successful show. That's going to be where your big budget stuff comes from. Marvel's already shifting gears. Star Wars already shifting gears. Star Trek shift gears. The big properties will live on streaming. And movies, maybe people won't have an impetus, because you go to see a movie to see something larger than life. If you sit at home and something larger than life is broken up in chunks and delivered to you each week, you could go out and see it in the theater, and I would rather go see a big movie, but you're going to get big budgeted shit just in a different package.
That's the whole thing, though, is movies. The whole point is that you're not making movies for theaters anymore. You're making movies for the home. You're making movies for home entertainment systems. You're making movies that you can see anywhere. So it's not about making a big screen production. And if production houses also are all going to pivot and put all of their big budget productions into television shows because they think that's more lucrative and more sustainable, then over time, other filmmakers will fill the void of the big budget picture, even if it's not with a bigger budget. That's the things like if filmmakers, if Hollywood stops making big budget movies, there will be a void left behind. And independent filmmakers can't just come in and fill that 1-to-1 without the budget, but they can fill that void in other ways. They can, and that's where that creative explosion comes from, is that's when filmmakers, because that's the whole point, is that when the money goes away, the people with the money go away from that thing. Now you have this void of whatever, that your creative people now get to come in and figure out, okay, we have this whole pile of nothing. How do we make it back into something?
Those people, though, won't have the say. Like, who says that those filmmakers are actually going to be the ones that studios want to go to? Who's not going to say that if the entire landscape changes, this Cary Fukunaga guy that went from Beast of a Nation to James Bond isn't very happy with, or doesn't have a problem with going right back to making the small budget films. I think that just because the money landscape's going to change, the idea landscape changes. These people they have their heels dug in. People are old ideas in Hollywood. They're not just going to go away. And so, maybe Peter Jackson comes out and makes a movie that costs $100 million.
When the money landscape changes in Hollywood, everything changes in Hollywood.
That's what I'm trying to say, though. These people aren't going to just go away.
They absolutely, some of them are. That's the whole thing. Some of them are. Some of them absolutely are. What happens is this entire sensibilities in Hollywood changes. The money behind Hollywood changes. Everything, when the money shifts, everything about the Hollywood landscape changes, because there are going to be tons and tons of people who are heavily influential in how movies get made and whether or not they do get made, who are going to get out of Hollywood because it is no longer going to make them the profits that they used to make. That's the business of Hollywood.
And I think they're going to shift into making TV.
Those are just going to leave. They're just going to find a more profitable industry. These are the opportunities. They are, when their ship starts to sink, they don't patch the ship. They find a better ship. They've rode this one, till the end of the journey. They're moving on to bigger and better things. These aren't creatives who live and die by making movies. These are people. These are investors.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I think the
whole point is that if
the
they
movie will go away too, because I wanted to add this point, like video gaming. Like, there are other forms of entertainment I think are going to fill the hole, and just in general, like a 2-hour long form thing. Sadly, you'll see less and less of it. You probably see less movies.
I don't think so at all. I think you'll see tons of movies, because again, your entry bar for who can make a movie is going to change. It's going to be there's so much willful gatekeeping that happens at the top levels in filmmaking with the production houses in terms of who gets to make movies, who gets to see movies. That's my whole point.
Is that the whole thing you made about the language, though, at the beginning of the thing? Those people just might not be speaking that language yet.
Who's speaking what language?
The gatekeeping comparison you made at the very beginning of the show. Like, we're not gatekeeping. You're just not speaking the right language. If you go to France and you get treated like shit, you're going to get pushed out of the country because you're not speaking the language. What if these filmmakers that are coming in just aren't speaking the right language? Because even though I hate the artistic whole that is Michael Bay and certain people, there's a reason they get the endless contracts and this and that.
I just don't buy that, though. I mean, I feel like that's like, okay, if that's correct, then what you're saying is that these guys who are now the insiders in Hollywood are the last great filmmakers that were ever born, and no one has been decent since them. Because
what I'm saying, though, is like J.J. Abrams isn't going to go away because the money landscape changes. The thing is, the money landscape.
Yes, he absolutely.
No.
He doesn't. His films don't make money anymore.
You're not listening to me. I didn't finish my point. He got paid almost $500 million from Warner Media. People are getting contracted to produce for this scale. This is where the money's going. So I hate J.J. Abrams' work, but he's made Star Wars and Star Trek and all this big shit. Warner Media paid him $400 million. That's where the big filmmakers go. The studios are going to buy them up to produce for their shows. They're not 1-to-1 for theaters.
The thing is, they're not going to be able to afford to have every great director on retainer already. And all this in this shit. And the thing is, it's not going to produce sustainability. It's not going to produce good. What you're already seeing again. Like I said, you're going back to Hollywood is returning to its, golden era, but by force and not in a good way, where it's the studio houses. Oh, we're buying up actors now. We're buying up directors now. We're buying up musicians' catalogs now. What does that do? The thing is, that's great back in the day when all this shit's new. You've already gone through all that once and then been recycling it repeat for decades and decades and decades. So this let's get scared and buy up the market model that the studios are doing is just going to hurt them in the long run, because their shit that's already stale is going to go staler even faster, because now they're going to recycle the same people, the same shit that they have the rights to, that they own, because it's cheaper. This is the model they're turning their eyes to. Eventually, some of these studios are just not going to make it. That's the whole thing, is like, you're seeing this all come to it. All this shit we've talked about since Ghostbusters 2016 is coming to a head. This push and pull between a consumer-driven media industry and the people who run that industry who aren't listening to the consumers. This shit is coming to a head, and it's breaking.
I agree with that, but I don't think the idyllic version that you're building is what the fans are going to.
The thing is, I don't think that this dystopian, everyone keeps the power who already has it version is going to happen, because I don't think those people are going to have the power anymore. I think that's the whole point, is it's crumbling. It's being stripped away. If your company goes bankrupt, you no longer have the monopoly. The monopoly in Hollywood, but like any other business, is just dictated by who has the most money. And if your monopoly crumbles because your entire income model is based on a park, and now no one goes to your parks anymore, and you haven't figured out how to make a sustainable business model based off of your movies in decades, how the fuck are you going to pivot in time to save your company?
That's only Disney, and the thing is, they got approved and their stock went up, because again, it's not about what you're actually doing, it's about the speculation. So every time one of these, like when the coronavirus vaccine was in the news, their stock spiked because of the goodwill, because of what is going to happen with their parks reopen. So it is doom and gloom for a lot of this shit. But at the same time, what we see as valuable versus what the people who hold money see as valuable, like these other commodities and assets that are the intangibles that we don't understand, where their companies really have value. Like I looked into the Disney thing, like their goodwill asset, like that's something that somebody sees financial value. So that's like a thing that they can leverage. So I don't like Disney at all. I think their model will switch to Disney Plus. So studios buying up shit. It's funny. The more I think about it, it used to be, oh, the studios are going to come back and they're going to have their own theaters and show their own movies. They're just going to have their own streaming services, and they're going to have everything locked into that.
See, that's the whole thing is there's a leveling of the playing field happening and a widening of opportunities that's going to allow this creativity, whether the studios want it or not. And that's the whole thing. I think you're absolutely going to see it, because all the moves they're making are these scared moves to monopolize their entertainment, to own their streaming service, own their people, own their everything.
I'd say it's haughty more than scared.
I think it's scared. I think it's absolutely scared. The thing is, you don't need to lock down this stuff unless you think it's going to become scarce. It's panic buying.
I disagree. I think it's greed. I don't think it's panic buying at all, because prior to coronavirus and any talk of theaters closing, we had Netflix's model exist. We had other people. They're always just going after what's popular. Hulu follows. All these things follow. So they're just following trends.
The whole thing is all these things. It's not about following trends anymore. It's these production houses to whom the streaming services were always supposed to be subservient as another form of distribution for them, they're now a level playing field. These productions, because Netflix and Hulu and Amazon are all becoming production houses in their own right, and all the production houses are being forced into the streaming game, whether they like it or not.
But what are they producing on the big scale that's actually relevant?
The smaller places?
No, the Amazon and the Hulu, all their streaming TV shows. The movie industry is going to become something.
The whole point is that you can't judge what these companies are going to do in the new landscape based on what they have succeeded in doing before.
You can, though, because if it works, why would you?
Because the entire conversation is about how the landscape is going to fundamentally change, and that the things that did work before won't work anymore.
But Jesse, that landscape does not change.
How does it not change? Endgame doesn't exist anymore.
I'm not. You're not going to let me finish. I'm not talking about the film landscape. I'm talking about the entertainment landscape. The streaming television show, the production model, the only thing that's going to change is how people stay apart. Whatever model existed was successful. As a business, you're going to follow what's successful. There's a reason why Stranger Things keeps getting more seasons. Yeah, I don't like it anymore, but it's successful. All of these streaming places that you're talking about, they're not going to all of a sudden pivot to just make more movies and give more people an opportunity when they're streaming shows that are juggernauts. These shows are bigger than movie franchises.
Who said anything about pivoting? There's no finite.
There is a finite. There's a finite everything. There's finite server space. There's finite time. Not every filmmaker is gonna have the thing. They have to have the voice. Steven Spielberg wasn't gonna become Steven Spielberg if he wasn't himself. Like you said about Jaws the other day. Even the bullshit shots, you show their greatness. Just because you open that up, I don't think you're gonna get more great films, because what the world focuses on is basically the participation trophy model, where they're still going to go with that at a smaller scale. They're not going to, they can't pull themselves out of that. This is going to be ego and hubris sinking the ship. They're going to be doing the same thing again on a smaller scale, on a different level.
That's my whole point. Is I don't think that's the whole point I'm trying to make, is they cannot. They will not be able to, because eventually that scale will shrink to the point where other people will have the resources to do it to the same level that they are doing it, but they will do it better, because the model they're making does not work. It is not growing. It is not producing better and better content that brings in better and better money. It has been consistently inconsistent. It has been Disney has had as many flops as successes in the past year.
But we're having two arguments right now. I thought we were talking strictly on their streaming successes. We're talking about the streaming landscape. The entertainment landscape changing is the streaming landscape.
That's the thing. It's all going to streaming. But it's
already there, Jesse.
Are going to stream. No, big giant blockbuster movies are not there until December 25th when all this HBO shit
and nothing's
starts.
going to change.
Of course it's going to change.
Not every big budget film is a guaranteed success. People didn't go see Dark Tower. That's a huge budgeted film.
I'm aware that it's not a guaranteed success.
But I'm saying, like, just because they're going to be put on the platform, I don't think everyone's going to watch it. How much shit do I have that I don't watch on these big platforms? I've never seen half of Netflix big.
Not sure what your point is about what's getting up there that's not getting watched. My whole point is things are going to get made that weren't getting made before. It's not about getting distributed or what's getting seen. Things are going to get made that weren't getting made before. Because there aren't going to be, that's part of it too, also. The giant Hollywood blockbuster movie is dead. It's gone. It's over. The theaters are dead. Sound the alarm. Spread the word. People are not flocking to Hollywood anymore to become these screenwriters and whatnot. So at the same time that you're having the landscape shift and you're having changes in the way you have to make entertainment and who you can give it to, you're also having a lowering of the number of people wanting to come in and make this stuff, which means that it is becoming more and more likely that people who haven't had opportunities before will get them. That's the whole thing. Like, that's not everybody who is a talented, person in film who comes out here to do it and has chops and talents and whatever succeeds. Life isn't fair. It sucks sometimes. But yeah, Steven Spielberg had made like 3 different decisions in his life. Maybe he never would have gotten a break. And he would have been the same fucking Steven Spielberg his entire life. He just maybe never would have gotten to make any of those movies.
And then for every Steven Spielberg that we get a J.J. Abrams that gets, because the narrative's going to pick these filmmakers not on their quality of work. They're going to get picked on some bullshit.
My whole point is that you're going to have more and more opportunities for filmmakers who do not fit the narrative. It's exactly what there is a narrative. There is a who we want and who we don't. There are people being kept out for thinking a certain thing, or not believing a certain thing. It's not a meritocracy. It's not about quality. It's not about, the best people get to be the best filmmakers and not. We can see that clear as fucking day. The point is that when you change the landscape, when these big media conglomerates who have made all of the movies since forever no longer have the monopoly on filmmaking, other filmmakers who Universal doesn't want to hire because whatever reason, it's too edgy, it's too experimental, it's too risky, it's too this. Because that's the whole thing, too risky. Any single one of these big name filmmakers that came out of the 70s, that came out of those, the decades before that we think of today as these big shot, all time forever filmmakers, if they were making films today, the landscape of the way cinema is today, these guys would not have gotten opportunities. They would not have taken those risks on these people. Hollywood doesn't take risks.
Is that a fair thing though? Because those guys made the landscape. So the argument, like, they've created the system that would keep certain things out. So I don't think it's
they didn't create the system. That's the whole thing, is the directors who are making the movies are not the ones who dictate what the next movie is that gets
That's not
made.
what I'm saying, though. But their success dictates what people see, which dictates the business side of it, which brings in different people, which changes. You know,
Correct.
Steven Spielberg
Correct.
being the huge success that he could have influenced people and could have brought in people. And
I think it's ironic. I think it's a huge irony. But even so, then Steven Spielberg still doesn't have influence in every camp and on every side. And it wasn't until he became a producer that he had producer chops and had influence on the producer side of the camera. Directors in Hollywood.
That was so early in his career too.
It was pretty early.
Back to the Future.
Yeah.
1985.
Yeah.
He'd been a filmmaker on a big scale for a decade. That was almost 40 years ago at this point too. So I mean,
it's funny though. It's funny though how like a decade into a career for some filmmakers could be the end of it, but for him it was just the beginning.
But that's what I'm saying. Like he clearly,
the whole thing is he's still not like Steven Spielberg. I don't think is one of the number one people who has the behind the scenes influence and actually shaping this. Like the people who are actually creating aren't interested in that element of it. These are the executive producers. These are the people who never necessarily even stepped on a film set except to say, hey, good job, you know, and have everyone kiss their ass because everyone knows this is the person funding the project. You know, these aren't creative people. These are just bankrollers. And these are the people who, the irony is, they look at the Spielbergs and the Coppolas and the whatevers and they go, oh, wow, look at these successful models. Let's pour all our money into creating and recreating this. And they get stuck on those models and perpetuate business that only uses that and is afraid to branch outside of that, forgetting that the entire reason they found that model in the first place was by taking the risk. It's ironic and it's cyclical and hilarious the way it's come to be, but it's a product. I mean, it's a product of a lot of the other things in our time where people are lazy. They want instant gratification. Nobody wants to work for anything. And everyone wants to, you know, think their shit doesn't stink. They're the greatest thing that's ever happened without having to do anything to earn it. So, but, again, though, whatchamacallit, we're getting back into a situation where there isn't going to be any reward without the risk anymore. Where the whole reason you drop X, you know, $100 million or whatever into a movie is so you can make even bigger numbers, so you can win an Oscar or whatever, et cetera, et cetera.
I think the Oscars usually
it's probably not even much of a draw anymore. But saying you put the money in to get more money out of it.
But there's another effect of that we're not looking at. Audience condition. They're used to that. So just to put money into the movie doesn't just make it bigger. When everything is this special big thing that people are conditioned to go see, and then the next wave is lesser in terms of like spectacle or this, I think that's where you have the people get jaded, and then they look to something that's consistent like their streaming TV shows, and they'll go, well, these big budget movies just don't do anymore, but the boys on TV or the Mandalorian or this or that, they can't do Star Wars movies anymore, but the Mandalorian looks like a Star Wars movie.
See, that's where I think that you're wrong. I think that in the absence of the big budget film, I think filmmakers will figure out how to create something that is regarded of equal quality, even if it doesn't have the same budget and spectacle.
I disagree because people aren't looking for art. They're looking for dumb shit. Like Sonic the Hedgehog and the stuff that makes the money today, it's not about high art. It's not about being, you know, new or different or whatever.
The thing about filmmaking is that filmmakers will make the films whether or not people want to see them or not. And at some point, people eventually are going to want to see good movies again.
But I think good is subjective. I think the world that you've presented, I don't think just because it's the new impetus behind making the movie and the new landscape, I think it's very different from the argument that I make. The argument I always make is the children's shows we grew up with had censorship issues. So they were stuck in this box and they had to come up with creative ways to tell these awesome stories, but they couldn't show violence. They couldn't do this. And they worked it out. But they're also working with something established, something this, something that. I don't like the world we live in terms of original content. I'm not arguing or advocating for it, but I do. There's a reason why they constantly make IPs and redo them, because people have now become conditioned to where if it's not an IP, they don't buy it anymore. And that's the sucky part.
Yeah, because the studios have conditioned them
and they're already conditioned. I don't think people are just going to instantly go, coronavirus, I understand.
I think you can recondition them to want something else. And I think that's what people will do. I don't think that
filmmakers have enough influence because you said like the Spielberg to the people, there's other people.
No, because the big studios that are concerned with their profits and their models and this will keep doing their big budget TV shows and all this whatever, and they're not going to worry about the movies anymore. So then when a distribution company or a streaming site comes across a film, they're like, oh shit, this is actually a really, really good movie. There's nothing competing against it anymore.
But that
there's
doesn't mean
nothing stopping it up. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be successful, but it also means it has a much greater chance of succeeding than it did before, when it's going to, get advertised on streaming, next to X 5 other huge movies with these people in them and all this stuff. If it's the only big movie coming out this month on the streaming site and it's the one they're advertising and you're seeing, it's going to get a lot more eyes on it than it was before.
I disagree, because what's that commercial for Netflix right now? New movie a week, all big names, Ma Rainey's, whatever. Like,
again, though, we're not in the new landscape yet.
But there won't be this new landscape for that, because we are in the new landscape. The direct to, but look at big budget movies and all of these other things don't need to fall for the film streaming industry to exist, because it already exists. It's not going to change. Hold on a second. If Netflix makes X amount of dollars from all their streaming currently, and they're able to still justify pumping in all this money into Bright or Bird Box or all these things, because they're not cheap movies. That's the thing. They're not like conservative budgeted films. Some of these have huge budgets.
Well, what was the budget for Bird Box?
Let's look it up. Let's also look up Bright, because there are other Netflix original films. There are a lot of Netflix original films, and I don't think they have cheap budgets.
Bird Box was $19.8 million.
Let's see. Bright. Let's see. That's the what's that one? Because that's Will Smith and stuff like that. That's another. Here we go. Bright film. Budget. $90 to $106.2 million. So I'm not trying. I respectfully want to tell you, like, streaming movies aren't cheap across the board. Like, they'll invest money. So the landscape isn't going to change because they've already cultivated the landscape.
You're acting like, oh, okay, well, streaming movies are all going to be $20 million to $60 million. It's such a wide variety of what it costs to make a movie, of who's making movies, and how movies are getting out there.
And the thing is, that landscape that you want exists, and those people aren't doing it.
It already has changed. It already is changing. It already has changed. There are already so many more independent films. A lot of these movies, that's the whole thing, is just because it has the name of an actor you recognize in it doesn't mean it's not an independent film. It doesn't, just because it's, has people who've worked in Hollywood doesn't mean it's not an independent film. You act like an independent film means it's garbage or amateur or bullshit.
No, but I don't think independent film means high art or a better execution either.
No, sometimes it's just different.
Because The Room is an independent film.
Absolutely. I don't know why you think when I say independent film, I mean high art. I don't at all. Because independent film, literally independent film means a film not made by a major production studio. When I say independent film, that is all I mean, because that is literally the definition. By your
literal definition, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is an independent film, but it's the original one.
Okay.
But it's also an IP. IP franchises that people want to go see cost a lot of money to put on film. Okay. Even if an independently produced big thing is independently produced,
fine.
You need the money to produce it because people are conditioned for that.
And there are people who make independent movies who get huge budgets to make independent movies. That's my point. There is money in independent filmmaking. There is a lot of money in independent filmmaking.
Not historically, who's doing it today?
Who? Yeah. Like names of people?
Yeah, like who's a big budget film? Who's a big filmmaker that's making independent films that people are talking about?
I'm sure I could go find them. I don't study who's doing what in independent films, but a ton of A-list actors are working in independent film right now, are making independent films.
But they have been for decades. Harvey Keitel has been a relevant name since the 70s, and in the 90s he went back and did his thing. Sylvester Stallone did it too. Like,
it is happening more and more now that films that got releases on festival circuits are the ones you're now hearing about in the award circuits later on. That it's festival circuit films that get picked up for distribution later on. Those are all independent films. Those are all films made without distribution, without big giant budgets behind them.
And
money, yeah. But these are the movies. A lot of the movies that are getting picked up that people are talking about, are enjoying, are watching, are some of these movies. Yeah, there are things that are going to go away. Like your big giant Marvel movie, of course, isn't going to be sustainable, and your independent houses don't have the connections to make those kinds of movies. But you can make with a budget, with a solid budget, you can make a great movie that looks great, that looks amazing, that is independent. And if your gigantic production houses aren't pumping $100 million into making movies anymore, but you can get together $10 million to make one, you are going to get a lot more exposure for that movie than you were in a year when Marvel can put out 3 different superhero movies.
I think there's that extra step we're missing. You could get exposure. You won't guarantee.
Of course it's not guaranteed.
But I think that's the same thing as like a movie like Juno. It's a crapshoot. That landscape already existed in the film industry. It existed in the streaming industry. I don't think there's a landscape shift where that's the new world because it's the current world. It's not going to evolve.
My point is you're getting those types of movies are going to get more exposure.
I don't know.
I think they are. I think they're getting more exposure. And then what you see then is because you have more different types of films coming in, right? It's not all going to be good. It's not all going to land. It's not all going to be right. But you are going to get new, different ideas for the first time. New, different ideas with wider exposure for the first time in Hollywood in a long time. And then this is what happens is Hollywood starts to then just see what's sustained. Oh, wow, look at these new fun ideas that people are playing with that are working, that are getting bites. Because now you actually have a model where people can try new things again. They can experiment. They can take risks. Now Hollywood gets to see, shit, those risks are the ones that are paying off. Now Hollywood invests in those risks. Now you have another explosion of cinema, of creative strides being made by filmmakers who were breaking ground and someone went, fuck, this might be the next big idea. Let me invest in this. And then you have that. And then 40 years down the line, it all goes stale and sour and we start all over again. But that's how it's always kind of happened. And that's how it's going to continue to happen.
I don't think it's
a cycle.
We've never had the digital landscape the way we have. When you introduce not even just like a groundbreaking technology, it's just a different way you consume the technology.
But groundbreaking technologies have always been a part of cinema.
Not this kind where it wipes out the necessity of the cinema. Before it's the supplemental. It's take your movie home, do this, do that, but it's to go see the movie. That the whole landscape, what you talk about the changes, you've taken out a whole step. You don't need that step. So this is a different landscape. This is a paradigm shift, not even a landscape change.
VHS fundamentally changes movies in a very similar way.
Disagree.
Absolutely. To go from never being able to see it at home to being able to see it on demand, or only be able to see it at home if it's shown on television, to being able to see it on demand, that's a humongous shift.
No, it's not, though, because
in the entertainment landscape.
Price prohibitive. When it launches, back then, it's hundreds of dollars to go buy a VCR, and it's a couple bucks to rent, but it's hundreds of dollars to own tapes. And before anyone says, oh, you know, it's not, I can give you fucking advertisements, $99 a video.
But there's a point when it becomes not price prohibitive, right?
But my point is, though, it's not the same thing because VHS, videotape, whatever you want to call it, you're talking small screen, you're talking this. You couldn't replicate the theatrical.
It's not about replicating the theatrical experience. It's about changing the landscape. For people living at the time, don't you think it's a fundamental shift to be able to say, hey, I can just take this movie home? Of course it is. It just doesn't resonate as massive to us as it was to them because we're used to it. It's the past. But for people living in that time, you know, the shift from I have to go see it in a movie theater to I can take it home with me, you know, and have it in my house and watch it on demand is a humongous. It's a fundamental, because exactly, you don't have the age of digital technology at all. So it's on the movie or it's on television. This is the first time you actually have the ownership, any level of ownership over a movie. That's a huge change. It's a massive shift.
But it doesn't change it the way the digital does.
Of course, it's going to change it differently. I don't think you can say one's less, you know, one's bigger or less than the other, but you've always had changes in the way movies have been made and distributed consistently.
But movies weren't changed. They didn't change the big budget the way most movies were made for videotape. Direct-to-video home videos existed. Like they created the direct-to-video market for that technology. We're at the other end of this now, where the technology, people flock to the technology because it's on the same level. Before, you know,
I mean, I agree that it's much more impressive, but I'm saying...
No, but I'm saying, like, it doesn't change... First off, videotapes compared to digital media introduces the level of piracy that it can be crippling. Not I gotta go copy a tape level. We're talking greater scale. That changes, though, how many people can see the film. I don't even worry about the business aspect. I don't care. But, like, that just opens it up, like...
I'm not disagreeing that it's different. Of course it's different. I'm saying that at the time that VHSs were becoming a reality, people weren't even imagining a one-to-one, you know, movie going experience in their living room. Also, people weren't imagining what movies could even look like today then.
No, but I just meant, like, you always knew when you got a movie on tape it looked different than in the theater.
Yeah.
Like, even as a kid. I was saying, like, you couldn't get anything close to that back in the day, and you knew it was lesser. It's like when you played an old video game.
But that's not why. I mean, the whole point. That's not why there's this all of a sudden immediate change in the money in Hollywood. The trickling, the dampening effect of, the movie theaters because of the quality of home entertainment going up has been happening as a trend over years and years and years and years. That's not the sudden demise of the movie theater.
Thank you. That's that whole point I'm trying to argue.
Yeah.
That like this new landscape happened decades ago, and we're just living in a post whatever era. There's no change.
No, that's the thing is there of course is though, because you have a huge difference between whether you're the evolution of change naturally versus forced, messy, ugly, quick change. You have a model, okay, that as the theaters are dying out, you have time. Before coronavirus, you have time. You're looking at a 10-year plan of how to shift your model over to streaming in order to make it lucrative, because the theaters have that much life left in them. They have enough life over the next 10 years to, bring the money in and all that stuff. Now you have gone from a 10-year plan to a 2-year plan, because if you can't figure out how to be lucrative on the streaming model in the next 2 fucking years, your company's going under. The pressures are different. It forces different changes. But when you have the long-term collapse and change, now you have the complete control over the landscape, because you're adapting with the changes. You're keeping your profits high. You have the money to control the landscape a little bit more. You have the money to dictate how the new landscape feeds you, rather than vice versa. But when that money dries up that quickly, when all of a sudden it's a constraint, when all of a sudden there's a concern, when all of a sudden you don't have the luxury of time, you don't have the monopoly on the business anymore, your priorities need to change. The way you change your model needs to happen a lot more rapidly and perhaps differently, because a model that works over 10 years to slowly convert your earning streams isn't going to work when it's condensed into a much shorter time period.
I agree with that, but also this idyllic landscape doesn't just pop up.
I don't think it's necessarily idyllic or just pops up, but I do think things shift.
Your version.
I do think things shift and change way more than you give them credit for, because I think partially even more because you had already this trend. Because again, all right, what are we planning for? We're planning for the demise of the theaters and the rise of the streaming age. Okay, we are planning for that over this, however long period that we're planning for it over. And once again, you think you have everything in place. You think you have everything you need to do for this to happen. And then all of a sudden it accelerates. Now, companies are going to make a lot more missteps trying to do it the way they thought they could do it before and finding out it's not going to work, or trying to now shift and pivot because, okay, we had this model. We weren't worried about all these contingency plans because we had a model that we thought was going to work for this new age of streaming. Now it doesn't work for this new age of streaming. Now we're royally fucked because we don't have any more wiggle room or margin of error.
But when doesn't it work? Because we haven't had that yet.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, we literally have not seen a single news story of that not working. Like, that model that they've established years ago has been sustainable and will be sustainable.
Also, we don't know that because it's been a supplementary model till now.
No, it hasn't.
Streaming has been supplementary to the movies.
We're not talking about just the theater going.
But Netflix has Netflix already has a. The only thing is you're saying they have these things, they have these. You're acting like they're all the same people.
Your whole argument was all these filmmakers are going to get picked up by these companies. These companies have established things. They're not going to just go.
You're acting like Universal has the monopoly on production and Netflix is the monopoly on distribution, and that the
I've never said the words production or distribution.
The whole point is you're acting like production and distribution are the same thing, and they're not.
Because they are with Netflix.
They're not. The whole point is that Netflix isn't the end all be all.
But Jesse, the argument
the
argument you've been making though is about this new landscape and how these filmmakers are going to come in, and somebody like a Netflix is going to give them a shot. Somebody like
they already do. That's the whole point. Netflix is already doing that.
Thank you. You proved my point. This landscape shift ain't happening. It already happened years ago. There's no future change because of the coronavirus.
Yes, of course there is, because these other companies. The whole point is you're acting like it's all just streaming. There's no movies, or it's movies, and there's no streaming. You're now having the immediate clash of movies and streaming that we didn't have before. Before it was, how do we do movies? How do we do streaming? Now they're all smushing together. And yes, and the thing is, you're smushing distribution and production together in a way it's never been done before. It's never been done like this before. Of course it's going to change. Of course things are going to change. Even if things had gone on this nice, however long timeline without coronavirus, we would have seen sweeping massive changes in the film industry and the way movies are made. We would have seen that anyway.
You would have needed a couple
you
serious
always
failures.
Do.
Jesse,
it's not about
it's It's like the video game industry. You had to have multiple flops to really have a financial impact.
I give up. I'm going to read the super chat.
No, I was in the middle of making a point. You don't get to cut me off. That's rude.
I didn't realize you were in the middle of making a point.
Like a point.
All right. Well, I'll make your point. I'll read the super chats and we'll be done. I don't even know where they are anymore. Let's see. In that case, Stu fan says, Jesse is such a Jesse and Jeff is a total Jeff. Ha. Kristen Stewart makes a lot of independent films. Underwater is one of the blockbusters this year. Honestly, Kristen Stewart is a really good shot of winning an Oscar because she was in 2 films this year and most people were in none. So, good for her.
Not really, because it's one of those, like, that's all you... It's like everyone else... It's like playing on a football team. It's like, oh, all right, we're going to play against this great team. The other team didn't show up, so I guess you're going to win the Super Bowl. Like, hey, you're here. Thanks.
If I'm Kristen Stewart, I'm probably going to take it and run because it was probably my only opportunity ever to win an Oscar. That case, Juvan says, Jeff can beat up anyone he wants to. He's strong. That is 100% how being strong works. Anyway, this was a lovely stream. Thank you all for joining us. I am tired. Jeff, did you want to make your point before we go?
Nope.
All right. Well, that's cool. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for pressing the like button. If you haven't done it, do so again. It's 1 a.m. I'm going to bed. Thank you, everyone, for being here once again. Be excellent to each other and good.
That's mine.
I won't steal it because apparently you've copyrighted it, and even though Bill and Ted did it first.
Did you do it ever before you met me?
Fuck the world. Everyone go cry yourselves to sleep. I don't know. Whatever.
Love you, everybody.